Good morning to everyone, and welcome to today's event. We're going to start with some opening remarks from Fokion Zaimis. He is obviously the Deputy Governor for Entrepreneurship, Research and Innovation of the region of Western Greece. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Θα μιλήσω και ελληνικά και αγγλικά, γιατί δεν έχουμε ταυτόχρονη διερμηνία, οπότε συγχωρέστε με αν με αυτό το λόγο καθυστερήσουμε λίγο. Καταρχήν να καλωσορίσω τους αγαπητούς στρατηγούς, τον κύριο Ματζάκλη, τον κύριο Σαπουνά, τον κύριο Ρουμελιώτη, τους αρχηγούς των τριών σωμάτων, με τους οποίους έχουμε μια πολύ καλή συνεργασία. Να τους ευχαριστήσω γιατί εδώ και 2 χρόνια και παραπάνω έχουμε συνεργαστεί στην υλοποίηση ενός πολύ σημαντικού προγράμματος, στο πλαίσιο ενός ευρωπαϊκού προγράμματος Ίντερεγκ Ελλάδα-Ιταλία, του AETHER, με βασικό άξονα την πολιτική προστασία και την προστασία του περιβάλλοντος. Μέσα λοιπόν από αυτό το πρόγραμμα καταφέραμε και προμηθευτήκαμε ήδη, και αυτό είναι πολύ σημαντικό, όταν έχεις αναφέρει στο δημόσιο και έχεις να κάνεις με διαγωνισμούς κτλ. Καταλαβαίνετε ότι μέσα σε ένα πολύ σύντομο χρονικό διάστημα και με τη βοήθεια των υπηρεσιών της περιφέρειας καταφέραμε και ήδη προμηθευτήκαμε 10 drones, αυτά τα οποία έγινε μια επίδειξη χθες, εδώ, και βρίσκονται σε ασφαλή χώρο στην Πάτρα. Θα ακολουθήσει και η εκπαίδευση των ανθρώπων που θα είναι οι χειριστές και από τα 3 σώματα και από την τεχνική υπηρεσία της περιφέρειας και από την πολιτική προστασία, προκειμένου να παραδοθούν τους επόμενους μήνες στα 3 σώματα. Επίσης, έχουμε προχωρήσει και στη συνέχεια ενός άλλου διαγωνισμού για την προμήθεια ακόμα 3 τεμαχίων για την ίδια την περιφέρεια. Να πω ότι είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό η περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδας να εκμεταλλεύεται όποιο χρηματοδοτικό εργαλείο έχει για το συμφέρον της κοινωνίας, των πολιτών και των επιχειρήσεών της. Αυτό είναι ένα μικρό παράδειγμα ενός προγράμματος που πραγματικά βοηθάει την κοινωνία. Δεν θα μπω καθόλου στο τι μπορούν να κάνουν αυτά τα εργαλεία. Αυτά θα μας τα πούνε οι ομιλητές αμέσως μετά. Και βέβαια αμέσως μετά θα μιλήσουν και οι εκπρόσωποι των σωμάτων ασφαλείας και της πυροσβεστικής, του λιμενικού και της αστυνομίας. Θα πω ότι χθες έγινε μια πολύ ωραία παρουσίαση από πολλούς ομιλητές. Είδαμε πολλές εφαρμογές αυτών των εργαλείων, αλλά το σημαντικότερο είναι ότι ξεκινήσαμε σαν Περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδας και σε συνεργασία με τα κεντρικά υπουργεία οπωσδήποτε και αποκτήσαμε και εμείς μια τεχνογνωσία η οποία μπορεί να είναι χρήσιμη και στο ΕΣΠΑ, το οποίο τρέχει αυτή τη στιγμή, και στα διακρατικά προγράμματα που και αυτά έχουν ανοίξει αυτή τη στιγμή, προκειμένου να δούμε τι περαιτέρω κάνουμε από εδώ και πέρα. Όπως ξέρετε, η Περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδας διαχειρίζεται και έχει ξεκινήσει, όπως είπα, ένα ΕΣΠΑ, το οποίο είναι της τάξης περίπου των 650 εκατομμυρίων ευρώ, αυξημένο κατά 30% από το προηγούμενο ΕΣΠΑ, και αυτό το οποίο είναι πολύ σημαντικό είναι να οριμάζουμε γρήγορα έργα, δηλαδή να έχουμε ακριβώς την ανάγκη της κοινωνίας, της υπηρεσίας και με ώριμες μελέτες να προχωράμε γρήγορα στους διαγωνισμούς, να μην χάνουμε χρόνο, να γίνονται εμπροστοβαρείς ενέργειες έτσι ώστε να απορροφούνται γρήγορα τα χρήματα και πραγματικά να πηγαίνουν εκεί που υπάρχει ανάγκη. Dear friends, welcome to Athens, to Patras and the region of Western Greece again for once more. I'm very delighted to be here. As you see, we have present the head of the police, the fire brigade and the Coast Guard. It is the people that who have worked for the last 2 years in order to buy and train our services in order to work on the civil protection, because the program AETHER, as you know, is focused on civil protection. But civil protection is something very general. It's not only about protecting in cases of crisis, but I would say that it's much more important to work before the crisis, not only during the crisis. I'm very happy because this was an effort, and it was the last program Interreg Greece-Italy. We started working on it on the end of 2019. The program Interreg Greece-Italy started at 2017, and this project is finalized and almost finished. We're at the end of it, while other programs that started 2 or 3 years before that are still on development. That means we have specifically focused on the needs. We worked hard and fast in order to develop this idea. And I would like for you to talk to us slowly, because we don't have simultaneous translation, and and try to explain us why aviation is important, why drones are important, and how the local authorities, which is the region and the municipalities, can take advantage of these tools. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy. Unfortunately, today the weather is not as good as yesterday. We were very happy yesterday to have a beautiful day, so that the test that we did yesterday was wonderful. And I hope you will come again to Patras and again to the region of Western Greece and to continue this collaboration we have. Thank you very much.
So we're going to move on to our first speaker now. He is Mr. Sergei Allegre, the Director General of the Airports Region Conference. He is going to speak about mobility and urban integration around airports, the key aspects of airport regions. Just one request, please, from the speaker, as he's about to leave straight after his speech. If you have any questions, if you could briefly ask them just when he finishes speaking. Thank you very much.
So, thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Deputy Governor. For me, it's the second time here, and for sure it will not be the last time, especially if you organize such as interesting conference like this on these very interesting topics. Before I go into what I'm going to explain you, what it's not a lot, just let me tell you that it's a pleasure to be here too, because from my personal background, I was 27 years the deputy mayor of the city of El Prat. This is 80,000 people, and one of my responsibility was civil protection. And I can tell you that there it was very complicated, probably no more than here, but very complicated, because when you have the airport, a third of the harbor, high-speed train, metro, motorways, and one Seveso company in the limits of your city, plus the normal people, it's very hard task to coordinate everything and to have in mind all the plans. And I think you are doing a very good work, and it's a pleasure to see people from police, from the fire brigade. I spent 5 of my summers when I went to the university in the fire brigade, so I feel too very connected with the people working in the fire brigade. So thank you for all that. What I'm going to explain you, could you put my slides, please, if possible? Thank you. As I was introduced by our moderator, I have now the honor to be the Director General of Airport Regions Conference. This is an organization that West Greek region is a member, and I can tell you it's a key member and a very active member, especially in the topic of air mobility, of drones. So this is not like a champignon, let's say. It's not like something like a flower. It's, I think, something that here they are working hard for the last times. What we do is to create knowledge and to support our members, like West Greek region, to deal with the reality of their airports and to help them to get the best from their airports, because you have gone very fast. But what we do is this: we create knowledge and we represent them in front of the Parliament and in front of the European Commission. Okay? Doing a lot of communication and a lot of projects like these two ones or other projects that they are in Europe. Just a few examples, okay? Just a few material, all of that. If you wish, you can share it, you can check it in our web. Everything is for free because our members are public administrations, so it's clear that it has to be free, the access. So they have asked me to talk about a little bit about mobility and airports, why it's very important and why the region, all the regions has to take focus on that. Because of these two aspects. You can have an airport, but you have to go there. And it can be that an airport has not public transport or transport in general enough to fit the airport. And as much as you expand the transport system around the airport, the catchment area of the airport is bigger. So more possibilities for the airport and more possibilities for the region to get mobility. And this is something very, very important. If you are not easily connected, it is like that, we like it or not. You are not easily connected with the main hubs, mainly Frankfurt, Amsterdam, Paris, London, Madrid, people will not come. Investors, tourists, maybe, but not investors. So that's why it's very key, this aspect. Because everyone knows that 3 flights in one day, it's impossible in Europe. There is strikes, there is air traffic problems, there are whatever, okay? And then you lose your flight. So for the region it's important, as I say, and it's important to underline, going to the topic of today. The mobility around the airport, it's here, all of us, we have the idea of the land access, train, metro, bus, coach, car. But with the drones, the map changed, and changed dramatically. What kind of mobility you have in an airport, in any airport in Europe? You have the passengers, they are not going every day. You have the visitors, the employees, and the deliveries. This is what you have to have in mind when you talk about mobility for an airport, any airport. The numbers can be different. Of course, it's not the same the airport of Patras than the airport of Barcelona, my city. But you have to take care of the same aspects when you want to deal with mobility. And the airport city that you can have, let's say the businesses that you can have around the airport. If you have a cargo airport, you will have vans and camions. If you have offices, other services, you will have a different movements of mobility around your airport. I will go, because I have not so much time. And this is what the last slide I want to share with you. The issue of airports and drones. At the present moment, drones are here. They are not coming, they are here. Just you to get a number, only in Spain, what more or less the size of Greece, there are 60,000 drone license, drive license for drones. 60,000. The amount of the money that the European Union is putting for research projects is huge. It's very, very huge. Everyone knows that they are there. But we need but that the vast majority of the society make like, oh, here has to be coming a public event. For example, next year it will be the Olympic Games, as you know, in Paris. They say they are going to put drones to move people from Charles de Gaulle Airport to Paris downtown. And they are getting crazy for that because all the world will see that on the TVs, on our screens in home. So it's clear that it will be passengers and it will be cargo, very specific cargo that will come with the plane to the airport and from the airport wherever. Okay? It will have to be integrated in the air system. If all the issues about drones are how you handle the air system, because it's clear it will not be like planes, there will not be someone looking the drone all the time. It will be automatic, like the cars with no driver. It will be the machines that they will talk between each other and will move not to have an accident. But if this is complicated, in the normal place, at the airport, it's more complicated because there you have something moving in the air as well, mainly the planes. The third aspect, I think it's important that it will have to be integrated in the mobility plans of the regions and of the cities. And this is important because any drone, at the end of the day, will have, like any plane, will have to take off whatever they do and go down. When, where, and where? When? This is the most important, and this has to be integrated because if you deliver a packet from the airport B to the city A, especially in cities like Patras or my city, that they are not house with garden, house with garden, house with garden, let's say American way, you will not deliver it in the building. You will deliver it in a place. In a place that can be like this. You don't need more. But from there, someone has to take it to your home, or to your office, or to your working place. So it has to be integrated. It's not something completely outside and science fiction. And the last one, especially in the airports, they will have to be integrated with the airports and they will have to be integrated with the cities, but they cannot be very far because the good thing of the drones is the time consumption. They are very fast, no traffic jam. But then, if they are very far, you will have to go with your car to somewhere to take the drone to go to the airport or to go wherever, and this movement takes you a lot of time. It's easier to go with your car directly. So the drone aspect, it's missing if you are not very near. This is going to be the most important challenge for regions, for cities, and for airports, to integrate it with all that we have, car, bus, drives, vans, everything, plus that, the drones. And it will not be a lot of people, and with this I will finish, because I think I'm consuming more of my time. A lot of people think this will be for rich. This will not be for rich. Because think about, if you have no driver, very cheap. If the energy is electric and it's green, and you have a lot of green from the sun, like we have in Spain, very cheap. And if you have no controllers, human people controlling the drones, very, very cheap. So this is going to be, in the next 10, 20 years, really an explosion. For sure, we will not use the drones every day for everything. This is not going, looks like it's not going to be Blade Runner, the film. And it probably will not solve the problems of traffic. Because at the end of the day, imagine that you use 5,000 people use every day the drone in Patras. 5,000 movements. I don't have the numbers of your movements every day or in the region. It's nothing. But to see 5,000 drones moving in one day, this will be a shock. And for sure, this will be a challenge for the police. And this is one for the police or for the authorities in general, because it's not clear yet. And in that, people like the Deputy Governor, we are doing this work in Brussels, knocking the door, telling them how we are going to handle with this. Because probably you, but at least my mother, the first day she will see a drone, she will not call Brussels. She will go directly to the mayor or to the regional government and telling them, what's going on here? I have a drone going in my street or nearby or there. And there, I can promise you, and with this I promise to finish, 3 years ago, before pandemic, there was a meeting in Brussels, one of the meetings. And someone asked, if a drone doesn't move in the normal way, who controls that? And one guy from the commission says, local police. And then I stand my hand. I was the only one coming from the local normality, normal life. And I told them, what do you want the local police to do? To get the gun and to shoot the drone? I mean, how you are going to handle with this? And it's not solved yet. And it's one of the main issues, plus the technique, and there are very experts here that they will explain you more about the technicians, the technical issues. But this, who is going to control that, is the key issue. And I think events like this and work like you are doing here in the province and the region are the key in order to, as you mentioned, Deputy Governor, to avoid the crisis before the crisis is here, or at least to have some materials and some plans how to deal with that before it happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alegre. Are there any questions? Okay. If not, we'd like to wish you a safe trip back home. And we're going to move on to our next speaker, Mario Erario. He is a project manager at Distretto Tecnologico Aerospaziale, where he is responsible for managing the activities of the Bari Open Innovation Hub. He is going to talk about the Drone Living Lab, which is a DTA initiative to support an innovative aerial services industry. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Can you show my presentation, please? Okay, thank you very much. So, thank you all for inviting me here to this event. Today I will talk about the Drone Living Lab. This is an initiative from DTA, Distretto Tecnologico Aerospaziale, to support innovative aerial service industry. First of all, I want to clarify that innovative aerial service industry relates to both mobility, so mobility of things and people using drones, using autonomous vehicles, aerial vehicles, and also services, so delivery, monitoring, and so on. So some word about who we are. Distretto Tecnologico Aerospaziale is a non-profit consortium composed of 26 different shareholders that are research organization, the three Apulian universities, 9 large enterprises of the aerospace world, and other small and medium enterprises. So the main activities we do is leading and managing research and innovation projects relating to different aspects of the aerospace world. In these last years, we are focusing a lot on the autonomous vehicle sector, so remote aerial vehicles and how they can integrate in the airspace. We also do engineering services, and in particular we are developing infrastructure, test infrastructure, to understand and to research how drones can be inserted into the airspace safely, and how can they behave with the other actors of the airspace. So, for example, the aircraft in the controlled air traffic. And then I wanted to show you some key figures of the Apulian aerospace system that is very active and has been in development in the last years. So first of all, I want to talk about the Grottaglie Airport test bed. This is a research and development infrastructure that we realized in Grottaglie, and we use it to test how UAS, unmanned aerial system drones, can be inserted into the controlled airspace, and how the drones and the aircraft can safely be in the same airspace. This is a very important question, and because now we know that drones can fly, we have the technology, but now there is a very important issue of ensuring that they can fly safely, both from a safety of the people that are on ground, and both from ensuring that there is no malicious attacks, that no one can use them maliciously. So the main elements of these testbed facilities are a 3-kilometer long runway in the airport of Grottaglie, a series of hangars and a workshop that we use for the testing, and also a complete laboratory that allows us to do simulation tests, emulation tests, also with satellite assets, so for example testing SATCOM infrastructures, GNSS, and so on. We developed this with many different industrial and academic players, for example Leonardo, Telespazio, INAV, which is the aerial navigation service provider of Italy, and also the universities, the Apulian universities. These are some activities that we did. So as you can see here, we experiment with different types of drones, from the common quadcopters that we all know to, for example, the SW4 Solo, that is a full-scale helicopter that Leonardo realized, the Italian aerospace company, that is completely remotely piloted. And so it is a test infrastructure to experiment with different payloads, with different avionic modules. We also have different activities with experimentation of how controlled air traffic controller can understand how to insert these drones inside the controlled air traffic, and we have a complete facility to do this in a simulation environment, and also to transport those conclusions of the simulation results inside the real flight tests. But the topic I wanted to focus today is Drone Living Lab. So this is the urban part, let's say, of the experimentation activity that we do in Apulia. So Drone Living Lab is a cooperative framework that involves universities and industry, but also end users, so the final customers, the citizen, and the institution, the public administrations. The idea is to create solutions regarding autonomous aircrafts and space assets, for example, satellites or space services, that can improve the quality of life of citizens, and that can create useful services for the city. So from a, let's say, a product development point of view, Grottaglie testbed and Bari Urban Drone Range, that is another testbed built inside the Drone Living Lab can contribute to bring solutions from prototype to final market, so to the final customer, to the final citizen. And this is very important. Just some key aspects of how we evolved this cooperating framework that involves public administration, universities, and industry. We started with a project called Sapere to experiment with Earth observation solutions for public administrations. So, for example, using satellite data and drones data, so flying drones over the seaside, in this case, of the city of Bari, to gather data that could be useful for different aspects. So, for example, in this case, we did some patrolling flight to assess the quality of water along the seaside of the beach of Bari. And this was very important, on one end, to develop this kind of solutions, but on the other hand, to involve also the municipality of Bari, so we had a real commitment from them, and to involve also the police department, the local police department, for the use of this solution, because patrolling of coast, for example, could be very interesting for port authorities, for local police. This is a service that could be useful for them. Then we institute the Drone Living Lab, so this cooperation agreement between us, DTA, City of Bari, and ENAC, which is the Italian Civil Aviation Authority, and we also adhere to UEC2, that is managed now by Vassilis Agouridas, to also have a network of partners in different cities. Then we are now working on the Bari Innovation Hub, Open Innovation Hub project that enlarges, let's say, the scope of the project Sapere to develop different solutions related to the use of new key enabling technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain of 5G, to enhance the use of land and air vehicles, autonomous vehicles. And inside this project we realized a very important event that is Drones Beyond 2022 that I will show you later. And we also have future plans with other projects that will develop further in this direction. So these are some activities of the Drone Living Lab. As I said, on the left you can see the activities of Project Sapere, the first one. But I want to focus now on the project Drones Beyond. This was an international event that consisted of a series of conferences, live demonstration of urban air mobility solutions, and it was very important not only because it gathered the attention of the insiders of the airspace industry, but also because it allowed to, make the aerospace world and the other world of the public administration, the services needed for the public administration, closer. And this was very important because we had the chance to experiment inside a real urban district using drones. This is one of the first cases in Europe to do this. So we did 8 different experimentation using drones, showing monitoring services, for example, I don't know, to understand in which road there is traffic jams. And so from the data gathered from the drone, there can be a message to the local authority and they can intervene. Delivery services, and everything that can be useful for the citizen. Other than that, we also developed a system because, of course, drone services do not require only drones, but they require a vertiport, so a place from where they can take off and land in a safe way, and also a control room that can be, let's say, the central brain of the city to monitor and manage the services, the innovative services that can improve, what happens in the city. So, as you can see, in the central upper figure, this was a simulation, let's say a prototype of this central command and control room that in future could be inside the city and that could control aerial traffic, land traffic, for example, intelligent traffic lights, and everything that can enhance the mobility of the city. Another use case that we experimented was the interaction between land and air vehicle, so the intermodal transport. As you can see in the right lower figure, there is a drone that is delivering a package, and then there is a bus, autonomous bus, that picks that package and can transport it to the final destination. So this is important not only for example, I don't know, the delivery pizza, but also for medical supplies, everything that is very important to deliver in a timely manner. So what are the lessons learned from these activities that made us experiment in a real-life scenario in a real urban area of the Fiera del Levante district with this initiative? The importance of local public commitment. This is essential because right now the regulation to use drones is very strict, and so without the commitment of the local authority to, for example, I don't know, block the traffic in some areas or coordinate with, we had, for example, a mission inside the port. This was very important to understand the use case, but we needed the commitment of the port authority. And so now the law doesn't allow to do this simply, and for this reason the local commitment is very important. There is also the fact that it's essential to create a dialogue between aviation stakeholders, so who builds and who pilots the drones on one end, and the local authority, because once are create the offer of these new services, and the other one create the demand for these new services that can improve the life of the citizen. The importance of ground infrastructure. This is important for controlling on the whole the entire system, because in the future we can expect to have thousands of drones flying in a very limited, let's say, altitude, and they also have to interact with the airport traffic, for example. And so we also understood that the industry is ready, so they have very high interest and a lot of ideas to create these new solutions, but on the other hand they need a place to experiment, and this is essential because these kind of solutions, that they are not standalone solutions, so let's say they are not off the shelf, but they require a development of the system outside. So creating a testing infrastructure, creating a place in which to experiment is very important. We are taking a step further because we want to do bigger plans on this. For example, creating experimentation corridor, create continuous services, and trying to integrate urban air mobility into urban mobility plans. Last thing, I want to tell you which are the impacts of these kind of activities. So on one end, we created new knowledge. This is scientific and technological knowledge regarding the insertion of drones into the air traffic, the interface of the traffic, the manned traffic and the unmanned traffic, and we developed new procedures to do this. We helped industrial partners to develop these solutions. We activated this Drone Living Lab, this framework that is very important to develop these solutions. We engage with more than 20 private companies, 10 universities and research organizations, and several institutions, both at local, regional, and national level. The launch of the infrastructure and also the experimentation has generated a lot of work in Grottaglie Airport and in Bari, and we expect to do this further in the next years. So the activities, the bottom line of this is that these activities can be a very important opportunity on one hand to improve the life of citizens, and on the other hand to create a new market for these new technological solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? If not, we'll move on to our next speaker, Mr. Jordi Salvador Bernardi. He is the Chief Technology Officer at CATUAV, and he's going to speak about UAM deployment through testing, evaluation, and certification. Welcome.
Thanks. First of all, thank you for inviting us to this event. And I will try to share with you a little bit about how all these upcoming applications of drones that we are seeing, how we will check about the technical details in all the parts of the operation in order to ensure that it's a safety and secure operation. First of all, let me introduce a little bit what we are doing. I don't know if this isn't working. Okay. Okay, now. Okay, so we may be one of the oldest companies here in Europe. We started working with drones in year 2000. At that time, the word drone didn't exist yet. And we had different phases. So we started working on the development of the technology. Then we used that technology to provide new applications to the society. And later on, we realized what we were seeing in the previous presentation, these requirements of testing this technology in a safe place and controlled environment. And this is why we created what is called the VCN Drone Center. That is a test site located nearby Barcelona. It's 1 hour drive from the international airport from Barcelona, in which we have everything needed to develop this technology. So we have the labs, we have the workshops, the hangars, the office space, and so on. Like you are seeing an aerial image on the background of these facilities. And most importantly, what we have there is a segregated airspace. So only drones that take off from these facilities can fly in that airspace of 50 square kilometers. This allows us to deploy in early stages drone applications. So for example, now we have authorizations to fly here beyond visual line of sight at any distance, at any altitude inside the segregated airspace. We have the capability to fly even beyond radio line of sight, so without having a radio link with it, just flying with satellite communications or 5G communications. We can fly systems of up to 350 kilograms. And basically, as a company, what we are doing is developing all the surrounding services to help both private companies and governments to deploy these new applications in a safety way, sharing with them all our experience that we have gathered since year 2000 up to now, and helping them in the technical part. We participate in R&D projects, EU-funded projects also, Horizon Europe, Horizon 2020, boosting this sector and trying to help anyone in deploying these new applications. And we have had, up to this point, clients from more than 100 countries that have come to our facilities, either for new R&D projects, to test their technology, to train themselves in our facilities, and so on. So let's switch to the topic of this session. And first of all, just wanted to list here some of the operational constraints that we will face when flying a drone. So you will see that we are talking about visual line of sight. So we are seeing the drone beyond visual line of sight. The drone is far away. We are talking about altitude limitations. If we are flying below or over 120 meters, things changes. We are talking about urban areas or non-populated areas, controlled airspace, and so on. And when you look at the applications that people are proposing about drones, you notice one thing, that most of them make sense in urban areas that usually will have an airport nearby, so it's controlled airspace, and usually they will carry goods. They will be drones that are not small. They may have quite a great size. And this brings us to a limitation in the sector, because up to just a couple of years ago, all this was forbidden. The first legislations here in Europe were set in France in year 2012. Then other countries came by. Greece, for example, established his first legislation in 2016. But then we moved to the EU framework. So now we have it entered into force in year 2021, so just after the pandemics. And it has made a switch in what we can do. You can see that now all the characteristics are in green, because we changed the paradigm of the legislation. We moved from national legislations that were quite restrictive with this new technology, and we moved to an European framework that has a long pipeline of development, but from the very beginning is saying, okay, nothing is forbidden, everything will be possible, but we will see how we can do that. We will see how we can do that in a safety and secure way. And this is really important to make it in a safety way, because at the moment that you are flying, you are in the aviation framework. And aviation has been characterized for having the highest safety levels in all other industries. You just have to check that when you take an airplane, it's the safest transportation meaning nowadays. So they don't want to downgrade the current safety levels of aviation when we start using drones in the same airspace. And here is where the regulations are setting the focus on, and are setting the focus through the certification of the 3 legs, or the 3 pillars that any drone operation has. One pillar is the technology itself, so the drone has to go through some evaluation, testing, and finally some sort of certification. Pilots, the guy that is controlling the drone has to get also a specific certification, and the operator. The operator may be the entity, either public, private, that may have multiple pilots under his umbrella, and the operator has also to be certified, has to comply with specific requirements like having operational manual, maintenance manuals, maintenance program, to have some emergency response plans, and so on. And one of the changes also that they are doing with this new legislation is that this certification is based on the risk of the system. So depending on the risk that our US operator represents, we will have different levels of certification, and it's also performance-based. So it's not that they tell how you have to design that, but you have to demonstrate that you are capable of doing to reach some merit figures. So for example, that you are able to contain the drone, so that you are able to say, okay, I design a geographic area, and my drone is capable of not getting out of that area, or not getting so far away from the pilot, or not climbing at a higher altitude of 120 meters, or whatever. So it's based on the final result of how the drone is performing, and not in the technology itself. And all the certification process, most of them, practically all of them, will require also a third party, either the NAS, EASA itself, or a notified body, a certification company that has been recognized by each government, to properly check that the requirements have been complete. And here, just to go a little bit fast, just to review, nowadays, the European legislation distributes the risk in 3 levels. Open category for low risk operations is more or less the same scenarios that most countries already had with previous national legislations. Then we have the specific category that allows already us to do practically all of the commercial applications that we may have in mind. And then we have the certified category, that it's the same level of risk than traditional aviation. That is intended for those applications that we have already been talking about transporting people, dangerous goods, really, really big systems, flying in crowded places. But most applications can be deployed in the medium risk application in this specific category. And this is good news because allows already the UAS sector to carry on with what we are doing. So let's see if this doesn't work. No, I have some more presentations. I think there is some technical problem. Okay. So now what I want to share once we get back is a little bit to set the focus on what are the requirements for each category. The first thing that I wanted to advance is starting with the open category. The open category is the category that is set for the most common operations that we have nowadays. That is visual line of sight operation of the drone. So the pilot is seeing the drone. There is a piloting command. There is always a guy there that is guiding the drone and that is properly controlling it at any time in visual line of sight. In this category, depending on the size of the drone, you already can fly inside urban areas. And also, most importantly, the new EU regulation doesn't distinguish between day or night operation. So everything that we are talking can be done either during day or during night. And also doesn't distinguish between uncontrolled or controlled airspace operation. So the only difference between flying in a controlled airspace is that we will need to do the proper coordinations with the air service traffic provider. And if we do that, this is done at every state level, then you are done to start flying. Okay, we are back here. So here you are seeing the requirements for the open category, both for the pilot, that is just a certificate that in some places can be taken online, free. You can take it in any European Union country. And then the operator, the only thing that has to do is register also in some online platforms and properly set the data there. And this is quite easy. Why this is easy? Because these type of drones are the ones that people can buy in the supermarket. Are drones that you can buy by internet, are drones of sizes that already range from some hundreds grams to up to 25 kilograms. So it's something that is for the mass market. And what the authorities have realized is that you cannot expect each people that will buy a drone to be a rocket scientist. They cannot expect them to understand that they are operating in an airspace with people flying there. They cannot expect that everyone will be able to understand the limitations of this technology. And what they have done is say, okay, we don't set these responsibilities to the operator itself or the pilot, but we will set these responsibilities to the manufacturer. So what they have set is a process of certification, a conformity assessment process that is carried for a third-party recognized entity, a notified body, that will be in charge of demonstrating that that drone that is being set in the European market complies with some minimum safety and security characteristics. The things that we have already been talking about, so that it doesn't get far away, that the altitude is limited, that the velocity is limited, that it cannot injure people, that it has some measured sound level that is below some limits. So all this already comes back from the fabric, and the drone comes to the operator and can start flying it with minimum requirements. And this allows us for a fast deployment of these short-range applications. if we move to higher risk applications, the first thing that we have is the standard scenarios. Standard scenarios are already in a specific category, but they are built in such a way that allows us to easily operate this technology as if we were in the open category. So it's more or less the same. Here, the pilot already requires some practical training, and also the operator will require to have some basic manuals and some for the operation, the maintenance, and so on. But again, the main requirements are set in the manufacturer side. So the manufacturer has to go also through these conformity assessment processes or something equivalent in order to demonstrate that the system is safe to fly in these areas. But this is quite limited. There are for the moment just 2 standard scenarios published. One is for beyond visual line of sight up to 2 kilometers from the pilot. So at the best case scenario, you can fly 4 kilometers line between a single flight. And the other one is for flying systems up to 25 kilos inside urban scenarios, but in that case, it's only 100 meters away from the pilot, so it's quite limited. It's just for niche applications. The real potential of this regulation came when we switch to a specific category. When we switch to a specific category, here nowadays we are set in a case-by-case study. Here, what you have to do, both as operator or manufacturer, is to perform a safety study using the SORA methodology. And using this safety study, you will know if you are failing in one of these categories that you are seeing here, sales that ranges 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6, and depending on the range that you fail, you will have different requirements, both about the training that the pilots have to go through, the requirements for the operator, of documentation, testing, evaluation, and so on, and what are the technological requirements of that specific UAS. And in this point is where you may have to go through a type certification or a design verification through EASA and be able to demonstrate that the technology in the full operation is safe enough. And as I said, the good thing about this is that it's case by case. So you can say, okay, in my application, I need to fly up to 100 kilometers in sea area in order to locate people with this type of drones and so on and so on. So you list what you want to do. You elaborate and work for that type of operations. You work together with the NAA to get that approved, and then you can start flying. And this is being used for most NAAs as a sandbox tool to deploy new applications that later on maybe you converted to standard scenarios. But this allows also to gather them information about what society needs, what are the governments are using the drones, and what private companies are finding the business in this sector. And through these successful or cases that we are starting to have in Europe, they will build all these further on processes. And finally, just a brief note about the certified category that is already under development. We had some initial insights on this this summer with a draft legislation that is not already in place. But basically, the roadmap is to have this technology deployed between 2025 and 2030, together with all the other evolving technologies. Certified category, again, is for carrying people in autonomous way, flying with dangerous goods, and so on. And here you have just, if later on they share the presentation with you, but here you will have all the processes, the pipeline that you need to go, just for information about the open category, the specific category. Here you have all the processes. Later on, once you get the presentation, you can have here a kind of small checklist of the processes to comply with all this. And I don't want now to go through the list because basically the main idea that I wanted to share with you is that we are facing quite good and nice applications, as you've seen here that people are sharing with you. And there is already in place a quite complete regulatory framework that can allow both governments and private companies to properly deploy them in a safe and secure way, and that we are now in a moment in which, through this specific category operations, we can propose to both NIAs and even directly or through them to EASA what are the applications that we really need to do, and work with them to make them safe and secure, and assure that we are able to comply with all the requirements in a proper way. And that's everything from my side. Thanks you for your attention, and if you have any questions, you can ask me now or later on during the breaks. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Our next speaker is online, so I think we're waiting for him to log in via Zoom. He is Dr. Vasilis Agouridas. He is the leader of the IUC2 initiative at EU Civitas and head of EU Public Co-Creation and Ecosystems Outreach at Airbus Urban Mobility. He is going to talk about innovative aerial services in a European lens reflection on the challenges, opportunities, and new stakeholders. I think he'll be with us soon. Are there any questions for the previous two speakers in the meantime? Nope.
Hello, can you hear me?
Good morning, yes.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. As a matter of fact, I'm not supposed to give really a presentation, as the title set of this slot is for us to use it as a sort of reflection based on what we have heard this morning. And for those who participated also in the yesterday event, I'm sure you will have a number of opportunities already identified from the discussions you have had in the context of the Interreg Greece-Italy and from the drone-related discussion, but not only opportunities, also challenges. This is something we tried to outline yesterday in the morning. What I would like to do now is, although it's quite difficult from... Hello?
We can hear you.
I hope you... Yes, okay. So my plan was to try to facilitate a reflection and discussion with everyone in the room and online. So I will need your support for that. To prompt for that, I took some notes from what I was listening this morning in order to help us direct a little bit our thoughts and take some key, I would say, outputs before proceeding to the rest of the program with our colleagues from the police, the fire brigade, and so on. So Mr. Zaimis started mentioning about the importance of the civil protection services and the need to capitalize on the resources available in order to develop services that provide benefits to the society. And one aspect of that is that of integrated mobility. And Sergi Allegre from ARC highlighted the fact that for airports it's very important to be accessible, as we know, by integrating with rail and so on. But now we have something more to consider, and this is the drone traffic. One of the challenges, as put from Sergi, was the integration with the airspace in general and more specific with airspace of airports. But then we can have a new type, say, of small airports, the so-called vertiports or even vertipads or landing pads, which is about drones that could be in any more or less area within a region or a city, depending on the size they have. So here, he stressed the importance of having this integration, not only at airspace or even technology and safety perspective, but also from integration to the urban fabric or regional fabric of mobility and the different services that could be provided from the air, because it is not purely just mobility, passengers, logistics, could be a number of other services like surveillance, law and enforcement, protection in terms of fire monitoring, surveillance, or even intervention. So it is more than just strictly thinking about mobility. Here, then, it is interesting what Mario Erario from DTA presented of the vision of DTA and the region in Apulia and the municipality of Bari to really establish a living lab about drones. And at this point, I liked what he highlighted, that in fact the drone living lab is a cooperating framework. And this is how we really have to see it. You may have heard also the terminology of a sandbox. And already from what Mario outlined, this is the first step. Jordi highlighted the test site. This is, I think, an exemplar of a sandbox. When we talk for a living lab, it is something more than that. It is more than, I would say, the pure technical, safety, regulatory aspects, which are, as you realize, absolutely necessary. Without this, we can't do anything. But as we go now to urban environments, to populate it by people environments, not just aviation as we know it up to the sky, say, when we fly planes, the concept of a living lab becomes much more important, because it is not just a sandbox. It's about, in fact, not testing technologies, but testing services for people. And it is the people, the citizens, that have to give feedback. So we're talking about real services where citizens have to say if they like them, if not, how we can improve them. And this is a big challenge. This is where also we can feel and see what could be the role of cities, regions, the collaboration of cities and regions with different authorities, not only aviation authorities, but also other areas of civil security and protection, like the police, fire brigade, or even the ministries of culture, depending on the topic, what you do. It's quite wider. And here we can see that the role of a city on a region will be very similar to what cities and regions do when they create living labs or they take initiatives about mobility projects. Because here, the drone part, it will be about the wider mobility. It is not just an aviation topic. This is what I would like to highlight. I think that to do all of this, we need to build on the, I would say, aviation industry and services reputation that builds on high levels of safety. There should be no question about that. So we need to follow a similar approach to ensure we have these levels, record levels of safety. Aviation is the safest means of transportation. And what Jordi highlighted about the in-depth work of certification of pilots, operators, manufacturers is critical to achieve that. At the same time, we should not be restrained on that. What is important here, it is what is the societal impact. And Mario highlighted the importance of the living lab to create knowledge, to create and prototype solutions within the context of a smart city or a smart region. So it's these services to citizens that actually will trigger economic growth through the generation of businesses and new services. So to conclude, say my own summary and reflection, we have seen the importance of having the civilian services to be the driving force and the test sites to provide the necessary confidence and competencies and skills and compliance to what is needed to create living labs in order to integrate all these new type of technology in the wider mobility, urban and regional fabrics. That would be my reflection on that. The new regulatory frameworks that are coming from the European Commission allow not only the member states and their competent authorities, but also cities and regions to have a participative role on what we call the multi-level governance, and of course, all the different authorities. So this cooperation and coordination, it is a key, and what we need to do is to do it, not just talk about it, to find ways to really collaborate between the different stakeholders in order to develop this type of service. This is where I will conclude, and I would like, in fact, to ask a question about what would be your thoughts based on what we have heard, but on what I have tried to summarize, to see if we can have any sort of interaction, even if we're on this hybrid mode. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions for the speaker? If anyone has a question, could we ask for a microphone? I don't know. Not at the moment, probably. So we're, just a second, please. So we're moving on with a change to the program, which I don't know about yet. Could you just allow us to coordinate? Are we moving on to a break now, or are we moving on to the next session? Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Agoudidis. There seem to be no questions at the moment, so we're moving on to the next session. Thank you and good day. We can't hear you, sorry.
If you need to follow. Thank you very much. And I could be available if then afterwards the event for any follow-up discussions. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we are going to move on to the next session, where we will have the representatives of the armed forces of the region of Western Greece. First of all, we will have a short welcome speech by Mr. Martzaklis from the Hellenic Police. If you wish. Yes.
Εκλεκτοί προσκεκλημένοι συμμετέχοντες στη σημερινή εκδήλωση. Καταρχάς, επιτρέψτε μου να μεταφέρω στην περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδος τις ευχαριστίες του αρχηγού της ελληνικής αστυνομίας αντιστρατήγου Κωνσταντίνου Σκούμα για την πρόσκληση να παραστεί στη σημερινή εκδήλωση, ωστόσο ανηλυμένες υπηρεσιακές υποχρεώσεις δεν το επέτρεψαν. Η περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδος στηρίζει έμπρακτα τα σώματα ασφάλειας στην περιφέρειά της, ενισχύοντας ουσιαστικά τον υλικοτεχνικό τους εξοπλισμό με σύγχρονα μέσα. Τα μη στελεχωμένα αεροσκάφη που παραλαμβάνουμε στο πλαίσιο της διακρατικής συμφωνίας Interreg θα χρησιμοποιηθούν για τον σχεδιασμό και την παροχή ποιοτικών υπηρεσιών προς τους πολίτες. Ενδεικτικά αναφέρω ορισμένες από τις δράσεις μας που θα σχεδιάζονται πλέον με την χρήση του σύγχρονου εξοπλισμού των drones, όπως είναι η επιτήρηση οδικού δικτύου κυκλοφορίας οχημάτων, οι έρευνες αγνοωμένων ατόμων, η δίωξη λαθρεμπορίου, η διαπίστωση περιβαλλοντικών παραβάσεων, η πρόληψη της εγκληματικότητας και τα θέματα της πολιτικής προστασίας. Το όφελος από την αναβάθμιση του υλικοτεχνικού μας εξοπλισμού είναι σημαντικό και η πραγματική ροή αυτού του ωφέλους αποτυπώνεται με την μετακύλησή του στην κοινωνία μας. Αποτελεί φυσιολογική και επιτακτική αναγκαιότητα η χρήση και η αξιοποίηση των τεχνολογικών πόρων και ιδιαίτερα των προηγμένης τεχνολογίας μέσων και συστημάτων drones, διότι τα σώματα ασφαλείας θα μπορέσουν να ανταποκριθούν με επάρκεια και αποτελεσματικότητα στην σύγχρονη και πολυδιάστατη αποστολή τους μέσω της αξιοποίησης αυτών των πόρων σε συνδυασμό φυσικά με την αξιοποίηση και των ανθρωπίνων πόρων. Στην ελληνική αστυνομία λειτουργούμε την υπηρεσία μη στελεχωμένων αεροσκαφών, οι χειριστές των οποίων αξιοποιούν με υπευθυνότητα και συνέπεια το σύγχρονο αυτό μέσο που τους εμπιστεύεται η πολιτεία. Δεν θα επεκταθώ περαιτέρω σε ειδικότερα ζητήματα, διότι ακολουθεί η εισήγηση του κυρίου Κορομιλά. Θα ήθελα όμως να ευχαριστήσω θερμά τον Περιφερειάρχη Δυτικής Ελλάδος Νεκτάριο Φαρμάκη και τον Αντιπεριφερειάρχη σε θέματα επιχειρηματικότητας, έρευνας, ανάπτυξης και καινοτομίας Φωκίων Ζαΐμη για αυτήν την πρωτοβουλία και την σημαντική στήριξή τους στο έργο της ελληνικής αστυνομίας στη Δυτική Ελλάδα. Σας ευχαριστώ.
Συγχωρέστε μας, γιατί έκανε ένα διάλειμμα η παρουσιάστρια. Είναι ευθύς αμέσως για να προσφωνήσει τον επόμενο μιλητή.
Sorry about that. We had a bit of a technical issue. I'd like to present the next speaker from the Hellenic Police as well. And is he online?
Online, yes.
He's online. There you go.
Hello, everyone. I am Nikos Koromilas, Police Lieutenant of the Hellenic Police. For the last 2 years, I have been serving in the UAV service of the department. First of all, I would like to thank the host for the invitation and to give them my congratulations for this meeting. As you all know, Greece has a very critical position on the map as far as illegal immigration is concerned. With Turkey being the main entrance to Greece for illegal immigrants, a lot of serious issues have emerged over the last years. Unfortunately, incidents with sinking boats and other similar accidents have become very common lately. Some goes for illegal border trespassing in Evros. After all, we can all remember the recent huge flow of immigrants in 2020, where Greece was forced to send troops and riot police in order to handle the situation there and prevent an uncontrollable massive entrance of immigrants. Drones have been proven to be a truly significant tool for us to protect our borders in cooperation with the Army and the Coast Guard. Today's technology allows us to patrol our border zones and locate trespassers in a very effective and safe way. From zoom techniques and thermal cameras to highly intelligent and automated flight models, UAVs have an undoubtedly very significant role in border surveillance. And not just for preventing illegal immigrants, but also for avoiding accidents, especially along our coastline, where many immigrants have been injured or even lost their lives during their efforts to cross the borders, sometimes in severe circumstances, being exploited by traffickers. Moreover, UAV technology offers the opportunity to sideline the human factor in terms of situational awareness and fatigue, meaning it's much more efficient and safe to watch an inaccessible area from the comfort of an operational room rather than being there physically, exposing ourselves to danger or harsh weather conditions. It is very normal for ground forces to be highly alerted for potential dangers like armed human traffickers, be affected from extreme temperatures or lower their performances due to exhaustion from long work hours. Issues like traffic control, security, cannabis cultivation, natural environment protection, and rescue missions can be easily moderated with the help of drones. For all the above mentioned reasons, I believe every police or fire department or Coast Guard and Army, of course, should invest more to this emerging technology. Thank you for your time. It was really nice to hear from you all.
Thank you very much for being with us. So we are waiting for our next speaker, which, unless I'm mistaken, should be Commodore Sapunas. Is that correct? So welcome, he is Commodore Evriviades Sapunas, Commodore of the Hellenic Coast Guard Regional Commander.
Κύριε Αντιπεριφερειάρχα, αγαπητοί προσκεκλημένοι, κυρίες και κύριοι, με ιδιαίτερη χαρά και τιμή βρίσκομαι σήμερα εκπροσωπώντας το Λιμενικό Σώμα Ελληνική Ακτοφυλακή από τη θέση του διοικητή της 5ης Περιφερειακής Διοίκησης Λιμενικού Σώματος Ελληνικής Ακτοφυλακής. Σε αυτή την εκδήλωση, η οποία ουσιαστικά αποτελεί και το επιστεύγασμα της ένταξης του Λιμενικού Σώματος Ελληνικής Ακτοφυλακής στη συμμαχία που δημιούργησε η Περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδας με όλες τις υπηρεσίες φορείς που κρίθηκε ότι μπορούν να συνεισφέρουν στην αποτελεσματική διαχείριση περιβαλλοντικών πόρων στο πλαίσιο του συγχρονικού έργου, το οποίο χρηματοδοτείται από το επιχειρησιακό πρόγραμμα εδαφικής συνεργασίας AETHER. Ανταποκρινόμενοι άμεσα στο κάλεσμα, δεδομένου ότι ο αντικειμενικός στόχος του έργου ταυτίζεται στο μεγαλύτερο μέρος του με τα αντικείμενα αρμοδιότητας του Λιμενικού Σώματος Ελληνικής Ακτοφυλακής, υπεγράφει το Μνημόνιο Συναντήληψης και Συνεργασίας με την Περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδος για την προμήθεια 3 μη στελεχωμένων αεροσκαφών drones με σκοπό τη βελτίωση μέσω καινοτόμων τεχνολογιών της αποτελεσματικότητας των προσπαθειών και ενεργειών που καταβάλλονται από τις υπηρεσίες του Λιμενικού Σώματος στις περιοχές ευθύνης του. Προς τούτο, χαιρετίζουμε αυτήν την ξεχωριστή και μεγάλη σημασία πρωτοβουλία της Περιφέρειας Δυτικής Ελλάδος, που καταδεικνύει σε μεγάλο βαθμό τη βούληση υλοποίησης σχεδίων για την προστασία των τοπικών θαλάσσιων οικοσυστημάτων και παράκτιων πόρων, μέσω χρηματοδοτικών προγραμμάτων σε συνεργασία με το Λιμενικό Σώμα Ελληνική Ακτοφυλακή. Πιστεύουμε ότι ο εξοπλισμός αυτός θα συνεισφέρει ουσιαστικά σε επιχειρησιακές δράσεις των υπηρεσιών του Λιμενικού Σώματος, όπως είναι η έρευνα και η διάσωση ατόμων και σκαφών, η πρόληψη και διαπίστωση περιβαλλοντικών παρεμβάσεων και ρύπανσης θαλάσσιου περιβάλλοντος, η δίωξη του λαθρεμπορίου, η επιτήρηση του θαλάσσιου πεδίου, η παρακολούθηση, καταγραφή και αντιμετώπιση περιστατικών παράνομης αλίας σε προστατευμένες περιοχές χαρακτηρισμένες ως Ποσειδόνια, καθώς και η προστασία του Αιγιαλού από τις παράνομες δραστηριότητες. Καταλήγοντας, είμαστε απόλυτος βέβαιοι ότι το συγκεκριμένο έργο θα πετύχει τον στόχο του και επιπλέον θα συμβάλλει καθοριστικά στην ενίσχυση όχι μόνο της διασυνοριακής, αλλά και της εγχώριας διυπηρεσιακής συνεργασίας μεταξύ των εμπλεκόμενων υπηρεσιών και φορέων. Ήδη από χθες που βρεθήκαμε το βράδυ στην εστίαση που διοργανώθηκε, ήρθαμε σε συνεννόηση και συνεργασία με τον συνάδελφο τον προϊστάμενο της Περιφέρειας του Περιβαλλοντικού Σώματος, βλέποντας πώς αντιμετωπίζουν αντίστοιχες δράσεις που εμείς ως Λιμενικό Σώμα ακόμα δεν έχουμε προχωρήσει στην εξειδίκευση αυτών των συγκεκριμένων επιχειρησιακών μέσων. Προσβλέποντας λοιπόν και σε άλλες παρόμοιες πρωτοβουλίες στο μέλλον, το Λιμενικό Σώμα Ελληνική Ακτοφυλακή θα αποτελέσει πάντα ένα αξιόπιστο και αποτελεσματικό σύμμαχο στη διαχείριση φυσικών και ανθρωπογενών καταστάσεων έκτακτης ανάγκης. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Nikolaos Roumeliotis, Major General, the Coordinator for Western Greece, Peloponnese and Ionian Islands of the Hellenic Fire Service. Ο υποστράτηγος κ. Ρουμελιώτης Νικόλαος, συντονιστής Δυτικής Ελλάδας, Πελοποννήσου και Νήσων.
Ευχαριστώ. Κύριε Αντιπεριφερειάρχα, κυρίες και κύριοι, καλή σας ημέρα. Εκ μέρους του κύριου Αρχηγού του Πυροσβεστικού Σώματος, Αντιστρατήγου Γεωργίου Πουρναρά, χαιρετίζω τη σημερινή εκδήλωση, η οποία αποτελεί μέρος του έργου AETHER, μια πρωτοβουλία της Περιφέρειας Δυτικής Ελλάδας, την οποία από την πρώτη στιγμή υποστήριξε το Αρχηγείο Πυροσβεστικού Σώματος, καθώς έχει στόχο την ενίσχυση του έργου της υπηρεσίας μας. Τόσο ο εξοπλισμός, όσο και η τεχνογνωσία που παρέχεται από το πρόγραμμα στην υπηρεσία μας, είναι βέβαιο ότι θα έχουν άμεση εφαρμογή και αξιοποίηση. Στις 3 Ιουνίου 2020, δημοσιεύτηκε στην εφημερίδα της Κυβερνήσεως ο Κανονισμός Λειτουργίας Ομάδων Συστημάτων Μη Επανδρωμένων Αεροσκαφών του Πυροσβεστικού Σώματος, με σκοπό τη ρύθμιση θεμάτων των ΣΜΙΕΑ, καθώς και της οργάνωσης και λειτουργίας των ομάδων αυτών. Στην περιφέρειά μας, ήδη έχει συγκροτηθεί ανάλογη ομάδα με έδρα την Πάτρα. Ήδη έχει συμμετέχει στις πρώτες της αποστολές. Η ομάδα συστημάτων μη επανδρωμένων αεροσκαφών, ως μοιέα του Περιοριστικού Σώματος, έχει ως αποστολή τη συμμετοχή σε επιχειρήσεις αρμοδιότητας του Περιοριστικού Σώματος με κύριο έργο τη μεταφορά οπτικοακουστικών δεδομένων προς τα επιχειρησιακά κέντρα και τους κατατόπους επικεφαλής, επιτηρήσεις προληπτικού χαρακτήρα σε περιοχές πυροσβεστικού ενδιαφέροντος, κυρίως ευαίσθητων δασικών οικοσυστημάτων, συμμετοχή σε συμβάντα δασικών και αστικών πυρκαγιών, σε επιχειρήσεις κατάσβεσης, εφόσον υπάρχουν δυνατότητες από τα διατηθέμενα μέσα, συμμετοχή σε συμβάντα τεχνολογικών ατυχημάτων μεγάλης έκτασης ή διαρροών επικίνδυνων υλικών, καταγραφή ασκήσεων, εκπαιδεύσεων και άλλων δράσεων του Περιοριστικού Σώματος, συνδρομή σε επιχειρήσεις προανακριτικού έργου του Περιοριστικού Σώματος, ψηφιακή απεικόνιση, εδάφος και χαρτογράφηση, συμμετοχή σε συμβάντα έρευνας και διάσωσης και επιπροσθέτως μεταφορά απαραίτητων και κρίσιμων υλικών, παραδείγματος χάριν kit πρώτων βοηθειών, σε αποκλεισμένες ομάδες πολιτών ή σε στελέχη της ομάδας διάσωσης πυροσβεστών σε σχετικές αποστολές, σύμφωνα πάντα με τις δυνατότητες των μέσων. Συνδρομή και ενίσχυση άλλων φορέων και υπηρεσιών, καθώς και συμμετοχή σε αποστολές στο εξωτερικό για την αντιμετώπιση συμβάντων συναφών με τον αντικείμενο των ΣΜΙΑ. Τα εν προκειμένου υπερσύγχρονα, μη επανδρομένα αεροσκάφη απαιτούν απαραίτητα εφόδια κάθε σύγχρονης πυροσβεστικής υπηρεσίας, καθώς με τις δυνατότητες χαρτογράφησης και παρακολούθησης από απόσταση παρέχουν σε πραγματικό χρόνο αναγκαίες πληροφορίες προς τα στελέχη της πυροσβεστικής που βρίσκονται στην πρώτη γραμμή, με αποτέλεσμα να αυξάνεται η αποτελεσματικότητα των επιχειρήσεων κατάσβεσης. Τα συγκεκριμένα drones αξιοποιούν την πιο σύγχρονη ψηφιακή τεχνολογία, καθώς διαθέτουν μία σειρά από ιδιαίτερα χαρακτηριστικά που τα καθιστούν ιδανικά για την αντιμετώπιση και πρόληψη των πυρκαγιών. Συγκεκριμένα, έχουν τη δυνατότητα να ύπτανται στο σημείο της φωτιάς, ακόμα και σε συνθήκες πυκνού καπνού, και να συλλέγουν δεδομένα με ακρίβεια και να τα στέλνουν με ταχύτητα τόσο στο επιχειρησιακό κέντρο, όσο και στον τοπικά επικεφαλής της πυρκαγιάς. Η ραδιομετρική θερμική κάμερα μπορεί να τεθεί και σε νυχτερινή λειτουργία, για να μεγεθύνει και να παρουσιάσει με ακρίβεια τα κρίσιμα δεδομένα που χρειάζεται η υπηρεσία μας, με στόχο τον περιορισμό μιας καταστροφής και τη διαφύλαξη ζωών που κινδυνεύουν, είτε αυτοί είναι κάτοικοι μιας περιοχής, είτε και στελέχη του σώματος που επιχειρούν στο μέτωπο. Οι λειτουργίες των μη επανδρωμένων αεροσκαφών δεν περιορίζονται μόνο κατά την ώρα της φωτιάς, αλλά μπορούν να περιπολούν σε κανονικές συνθήκες και να εντοπίζουν πιθανές αιστείες ή κινδύνους. Επιπρόσθετα, η χρήση τους δεν περιορίζεται μόνο στις αγροτοδασικές πυρκαγιές. Θα μπορούν μεταξύ άλλων να χρησιμοποιηθούν σε σκοπούς έρευνας αγνοωμένων, για σκοπούς επιτήρησης περιοχών, ως επίσης και σε περιστατικά που αντιμετωπίζει η υπηρεσία εντός του αστικού ιστού, όπως για παράδειγμα τις αξιολογήσεις περιοχών μετά από φυσικές καταστροφές, σε περιπτώσεις πλημμυρών, σεισμών ή άλλων συμβάντων, καθώς και αξιολογήσεις περιοχών από τεχνολογίες ή λοιπές καταστροφές. Η χρήση τους δε σε αξιολογήσεις πυρκαγιών σε βιομηχανικές περιοχές, πυρκαγιές σε ψηλά κτίρια ή άλλες πυρκαγιές αστικού δικτύου θα είναι ιδιαίτερα αποτελεσματική στη διεκπεραίωση των αναλόγων επεισοδίων. Κλείνοντας, θέλω να προσθέσω ότι με την κλιματική κρίση που βιώνει όλο και πιο έντονα η χώρα μας, ο σύγχρονος εξοπλισμός διευκολύνει και αναβαθμίζει σε μεγάλο έργο το δύσκολο έργο των στελεχών του Περιοριστικού Σώματος που επιχειρούν στα συμβάντα. Έχοντας το δικό μας υπερσύγχρονο εξοπλισμό, μπορούμε να έχουμε άμεσα όλα τα δεδομένα από το μέτωπο και να διαφυλάξουμε τις ζωές αυτών που κινδυνεύουν. Κύριε Αντιπεριφερειάρχα, η άριστη και διαρκής συνεργασία που έχουμε όλο αυτό το διάστημα, από την πρώτη στιγμή που ξεκίνησε αυτό το έργο, αυτό το αντικείμενο, είναι σίγουρο ότι θα είναι προς όφελος όλων των μερών και θεωρώ και η δικιά σας συμβολή, τόσο και του Περιφερειάρχη Νεκτάριου Φαρμάκη, σε αυτό αλλά και σε άλλα έργα που συζητάμε ότι θα συμμετέχουμε, έρχεται να ολοκληρωθεί πραγματικά την κατάλληλη στιγμή. Όπως είπε και κάποιος προλαλής σας, τα drones δεν είναι το μέλλον, είναι το παρόν αυτή τη στιγμή και νομίζω ότι το έργο έρχεται πραγματικά στο παρόν και οι επεκτάσεις του θα είναι και στο άμεσο μέλλον. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to our next speaker now, Mr. Katsaros Dimitrios, the Secretary General of the Decentralized Administration of Peloponnese, Western Greece and the Ionian. Κύριος Κατσαρός Δημήτριος, ειδικός γραμματέας στην αποκεντρωμένη διοίκηση Πελοποννήσου, Δυτικής Ελλάδας και Ιωνίου. Καλώς ήρθατε.
Καλημέρα και από μένα. Ευχαριστώ πολύ, κυρία Αντιπεριφερειάρχα, για την πρόσκληση. Κυρίες και κύριοι, εμείς ως κρατικός φορέας, η αποκεντρωμένη διοίκηση, είμαστε στη διάθεσή σας για συνεργασίες. Ο Αντιπεριφερειάρχης, με τον οποίο μας συνδέει μακρά φιλία, αλλά και τεχνική προσέγγιση, το ξέρει πολύ καλά αυτό. Είμαστε εδώ για να επικυρώσουμε οποιαδήποτε συμφωνία, συνεργασία ή συνέργεια υπάρχει μεταξύ των φορέων της αυτοδιοίκησης και του κράτους. Ακόμα περισσότερο τώρα που αυτό το ζήτημα, το συγκεκριμένο που πραγματεύεται, το συγκεκριμένο πρόγραμμα είναι απόλυτα φιλικό και είναι το μέλλον όσον αφορά την αντιμετώπιση των καταστροφών αλλά και την διατήρηση των φυσικών πόρων. Οι φυσικοί πόροι χρειάζονται τεχνολογία. Μια τεχνολογία που όσον αφορά τα drone είναι σύγχρονη, αλλά έχει κάποια θέματα ενσωμάτωσης στη δημόσια διοίκηση. Αυτά στοχεύσατε άριστα, κύριε Περιφερειάρχα, με τη συνεργασία με τους ενστόλους, διότι είναι εγγυημένο το αποτέλεσμα. Είναι δομές, οι ένστολοι, οι οποίοι μπορούν να μεταφέρουν το μήνυμα από την ηγεσία προς τα κάτω. Θεωρώ ότι θα πάει πολύ καλά και στη συνέχεια τα εγχειρήματα αυτά των τριών σωμάτων που στοχεύσατε. Εμείς, να ξέρετε, η σφραγίδα της αποκεντρωμένης στη διάθεσή σας για διεκδίκηση προγραμμάτων διακρατικών και ό,τι άλλο μπορεί να προκύψει από συνεργασία προς όφελος της περιοχής μας και είμαστε σε επαφή για οποιαδήποτε άλλη πρωτοβουλία σας. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για την πρόσκληση και ελπίζω στο επόμενο διάστημα να τα πούμε και τεχνικά πάνω στα συγκεκριμένα ζητήματα. Καλή σας μέρα.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to our next speaker now. It's Mr. Marios Prapopoulos, who has a degree and master's in precision in operations management and manufacturing systems and is an accredited precision agriculture expert. He is going to talk to us about modern precision agriculture methods.
Thank you very much. Καλημέρα σε όλους. Ευχαριστώ τον κύριο Ζαΐμι για την πρόσκληση. Εγώ θα αλλάξω λίγο θέμα, θα φύγουμε από τις κρατικές δομές και την πολιτική προστασία, θα πάμε προς τη γεωργία ακριβίας. May I have the presentation, please? Okay, thank you very much. Θα μιλήσω στα ελληνικά. Λίγοι είναι οι ξένοι επισκέπτες σήμερα εδώ. Όπως είπαμε, είμαι επιχειρηματίας στον χώρο της γεωργίας ακριβίας και θα σας δώσω μία αίσθηση του τι έρχεται και στο κομμάτι, στο χωράφι, όχι μόνο στην πόλη και στην πυρόσβεση. Ξεκινάω πάντα την παρουσίασή μου και σας πάω πίσω 26 χρόνια όταν μία μηχανή, ο Deep Blue, κέρδισε τότε στο σκάκι τον Grandmaster Γκάρι Κασπάροφ. Οπότε βλέπουμε ότι εδώ και 26 χρόνια κάπου οι μηχανές αρχίζουν και γίνονται καλύτερες από εμάς στη σκέψη, οπότε θα δούμε στην πορεία πώς αυτό έχει εξελιχθεί στο σήμερα. Αυτή η τεχνητή νοημοσύνη έχει έρθει τώρα στο χωράφι και λέγεται γεωργία ακριβίας, precision agriculture. Τι θέλουμε να κάνουμε με την γεωργία ακριβίας είναι να προστατεύσουμε το περιβάλλον περισσότερο για να επέμβουμε στο χωράφι με λιγότερα μέσα, να βελτιώσουμε τις παραγωγές μας και να έχουμε και κάποια οικονομικά ωφέλη στους παραγωγούς οι οποίοι χρησιμοποιούν αυτή την τεχνολογία. Όπως είπα πριν, λοιπόν, ουσιαστικά ο τρόπος για να μειώσουμε τις εισρωές, να μεγαλώσουμε τις εκροές από το χωράφι, δηλαδή την παραγωγή, και να έχουμε μια καλύτερη παραγωγή, είναι να επέμβουμε με τεχνολογία στο χωράφι, να εντοπίσουμε την παραλλακτικότητα που υπάρχει στο χωράφι. Ένα χωράφι δεν είναι το ίδιο παντού, αλλού έχει άλλες ανάγκες, αλλού λιγότερες, αλλού περισσότερες, και να ζωνοποιήσουμε το χωράφι για να επέμβουμε εκεί που πονάει περισσότερο. Ήδη έχουμε ξεκινήσει αυτά να τα κάνουμε από εδάφους. Υπάρχουν τεχνολογίες που οδηγούν τα τρακτέρ πλέον μέσω GPS, οπότε δεν χάνουμε ποτέ τη γραμμή μας. Υπάρχουν τα συστήματα μεταβλητής δόσης, τα οποία και αυτά μας βοηθούν, αφού έχουμε ζωνοποιήσει το χωράφι, να επέμβουμε εκεί που πραγματικά πονάμε. Έρχονται και άλλα πράγματα. Δεν μιλάω μόνο για τα drone, εδώ πέρα μιλάω γενικότερα για τη γεωργία ακριβίας. Θα έρθουμε και στα drone. Έρχονται ρομποτικά, τα οποία παίρνουν ενέργεια από τον ήλιο και μπορούν να κάνουν ζυζανιοκτονία χωρίς χημικά. Οπότε εδώ έχουμε το κομμάτι του περιβάλλοντος, το οποίο το προστατεύουμε. Και έχουμε βέβαια και το κομμάτι μετά της συγκομιδής των καρπών, που μπορεί να γίνεται πλέον ρομποτικά, ελαχιστοποιώντας πλέον την ανάγκη σε εργατικά χέρια. Οπότε όλα αυτά βάζουν στο στόχο τον παραγωγό για να βελτιώσουν την οικονομική του δυνατότητα. Εστιάζοντας τώρα στα drone, υπάρχουν δύο βασικές κατηγορίες. Υπάρχουν τα επισκοπικά, όπως βλέπετε επάνω, τα οποία θα μας σκανάρουν το χωράφι για να βρούνε πού πονάει το χωράφι, και υπάρχουν μετά τα ψεκαστικά drone, τα οποία θα έρθουν να επέμβουν στο χωράφι ανάλογα με το χάρτη που τους δίνει το επισκοπικό drone. Να πω εδώ ότι δεν χρειάζεται το ψεκαστικό drone να επέμβει βάση πάντα χάρτη, μπορεί να επέμβει και με μια λογική ότι πάμε και ψεκάζουμε ένα χωράφι. Αν το συνδυάσουμε όμως, εκείνη που έχουμε τα ωφέλη της γεωργίας ακριβίας. Και γιατί μας ενδιαφέρει αυτό? Γιατί μελέτες, και αυτή είναι μία μελέτη, μας δείχνουν ότι μετά τις κατασκευές η γεωργία θα είναι το μεγαλύτερο κομμάτι της αγοράς, το οποίο θα εφαρμοστούν οι τεχνολογίες των drone. Είναι πάρα πολλά τα αγροτεμάχια εκεί έξω. Υπάρχει πεδίο λαμπρό δόξης για τα drone, για να επέμβουμε στα χωράφια με πιο πολύ ενδιαφέρον. Οπότε γι' αυτό πρέπει να μιλήσουμε και για τη γεωργία ακριβίας από αέρος, γιατί είναι ένα πολύ μεγάλο κομμάτι της αγοράς. Ένα παράδειγμα, εδώ σας δείχνω ένα drone το οποίο θα κυκλοφορήσει, δεν κυκλοφορεί ακόμα στην αγορά. Είναι ένα επισκοπικό drone, το οποίο θα μας δώσει αυτό που λέμε την αναγνώριση του στρες και θα σκανάρει τα χωράφια μας, και δείτε ότι σε 43 λεπτά που πετάει μπορεί να καλύψει πάνω από 2.000 στρέμματα. Φανταστείτε πόσο γρήγορα λοιπόν μπορούμε να δούμε αυτά τα αποτελέσματα live, είτε στο κινητό μας, είτε εφόσον υπάρχει ένας χειριστής στο χωράφι, εμείς στο γραφείο μας, αν είμαστε γεωπόνος ή και μια υπηρεσία ακόμα, μπορεί να δει ίσως αν κάτι δεν πάει καλά με τα δάση μας, κύριε Κατσαρέ. Υπάρχουν πολλά πράγματα που μπορούμε να δούμε, όχι μόνο στο χωράφι. Τα συγκεκριμένα drone... Λίγο, γιατί κόλλησε. Αυτά είναι τα παραδείγματα των γεωργικών χαρτών που μας δίνει η επισκόπηση. Θα μας δώσουν και οπτική απεικόνηση, θα μας δώσουν όμως και χάρτες χλωροφύλλης, δείκτες βλάστησης. Αυτά είναι που βλέπει το drone στο υπερφάσμα, αυτό που δεν βλέπει το οπτικό μάτι, και μπορεί να προλάβει καταστάσεις εν τη γενέση της, αντί να πάμε μετά, αφού το δούμε με το μάτι μας, για να επέμβουμε. Οπότε όσο πιο νωρίς επέμβουμε σε ένα πρόβλημα στο χωράφι μας, τόσο πιο εντοπισμένο είναι το πρόβλημα, τόσο λιγότερα φυτοφάρμακα ίσως χρειαστούμε ή ενέργεια, οπότε μπορούμε όλα αυτά να τα κάνουμε πολύ πιο εύκολα. Και μετά, αφού έχουμε κάνει τις επισκοπήσεις, έχουμε πλέον και παραδείγματα στα ψεκαστικά drone. Εδώ βλέπετε το μικρό αδερφάκι της οικογένειας μιας κορυφαίας εταιρείας της DJI, που θα μας καλύψει περίπου 60 στρέμματα την ώρα σε απόδοση στο χωράφι. Ενώ το μεγαλύτερο αδερφάκι, που αυτή τη στιγμή έχει μια δυνατότητα 30 λίτρων ψεκαστικού υγρού, θα μας καλύψει 160 στρέμματα την ώρα. Ή αν μιλάμε για δενδρώδη καλλιέργεια, ελιές, που μας ενδιαφέρει εδώ στην περιοχή μας, ή και αμπέλια, θα δώσει μία απόδοση γύρω στα 40 με 30 στρέμματα. Να πάμε και σε λίγα παραδείγματα. Εδώ είναι μία μελέτη στο Λέτσε της Ιταλίας το 2018, εκεί που υπήρξε το πρόβλημα της ξυλέλας και άρχισαν να ξεραίνονται οι ελιές από αυτό το μύκητα. Έγινε μια μελέτη εδώ και 2 χρόνια σε 7.000 δέντρα, σε πολλούς ελαιώνες στην περιοχή εκεί. Θέλαν να δουν οι ερευνητές ποιο είναι το πρόβλημα και πώς δημιουργείται το πρόβλημα στα δέντρα. Αναλύθηκαν πάνω από 250 μπάντες φωτός. Το σημαντικό στοιχείο είναι ότι από αυτά τα 7.000 δέντρα το 90% εντοπίστηκε το πρόβλημα, άρα είχαμε πάρα πολύ καλά αποτελέσματα, και φανταστείτε ότι αυτό είναι μια μελέτη εδώ και 5 χρόνια. Αυτό σήμερα δεν θα ήταν 90, θα ήταν πολύ παραπάνω, θα άγγιζε το 100%. Και το πιο σημαντικό που σας είπα και πριν είναι ότι είναι 6 μήνες πριν το δει το πρόβλημα το ανθρώπινο μάτι, μπορεί ο φασματογράφος να το ανακαλύψει. Οπότε στην ξυλέλα είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντικό να προλάβουμε πριν αρχίσει να επεκτείνεται, γιατί μετά πρέπει να καούν κάποια δέντρα γύρω από το προσβεβλημένο δέντρο σε μια απόσταση πολύ μεγάλη. Οπότε όσο πιο νωρίς το βρούμε, τόσο λιγότερη καταστροφή θα έχουμε. Δεν είναι μόνο όμως η γεωργία, είναι και τα κουνούπια. Γνωρίζω ότι στη Δυτική Ελλάδα η καταπολέμηση των κουνουπιών γίνεται με ντρόουν εδώ και αρκετά χρόνια και μπράβο μας γι' αυτό, κύριε Ζαΐμη, και ίσως και προηγούμενες περιφερειακές αρχές. Εδώ βλέπουμε ότι ακόμα και στην Αφρική, που έχουν μεγάλο πρόβλημα με την μετανονοσία, γίνονται μελέτες. Το 19 στην Τανζανία επεμβαίνουν σε ελώδες εκτάσεις και βρίσκουν την επισκόπηση εκεί που είναι οι προνύμφες, που συγκεντρώνουν οι προνύμφες στα διάφορα έλη, με πάρα πολύ μεγάλη επιτυχία, όπως βλέπετε, 86 με 97%. Και υπάρχουν και νέες πειραματικές ουσίες σιλικονούχες, οι οποίες μπορούν μετά να ψεκαστούν πάνω στο έλος, να το σκεπάσουν το έλος, ασφικτιούν οι προνύμφες, δεν είναι χημικό το substance αυτό, η ουσία, ουσιαστικά σκάνε τις προνύμφες και μετά αυτό, επειδή είναι και διαλύεται με την επίδραση του ηλιακού φωτός, μετά από 4-5 μέρες έχει εξαφανιστεί και δεν υπάρχει καν στο περιβάλλον. Οπότε, για να αρχίσω να συνοψίζω λίγο και να μην κουράζω, μπορούμε να πετύχουμε με την χρήση των drones μέχρι και 9% οικονομία στο νερό, μέχρι από μια οικονομία στα φάρμακα από 30% μέχρι 50%, και να είμαστε και πάρα πολύ πιο αποδοτικοί, ακόμα και πιο αποδοτικοί από τα τρακτέρ, έως και 5 φορές πιο αποδοτικοί από τη χρήση τρακτέρ. Είμαστε πάντοτε μακριά από το σημείο του ψεκασμού, το οποίο είναι ένα πάρα πολύ βασικό πράγμα για τους πληθυσμούς της υπαίθρου, που ξέρουμε ότι υπάρχει ένα θέμα όταν ερχόμαστε πάρα πολύ κοντά με τα φυτοφάρμακα. Εδώ πλέον εμείς είμαστε στην άκρη του χωραφιού ή και απέναντι από το χωράφι και το ντρόουν επιχειρεί κάπου μέσα στο χωράφι πολύ μακριά από εμάς. Μπορούμε να μπούμε, είμαστε παντός καιρού, μπορούμε να μπούμε μέσα μετά από θεομηνίες στο χωράφι μας, μπορούμε να μην περιμένουμε να στεγνώξει στο χωράφι, δεν χτυπάμε την καλλιέργειά μας με τις ρόδες του τρακτέρι, με άλλα μέσα, οπότε δεν έχουμε και απώλειες και από τη συγκομιδή μας. Είναι πολλαπλά τα ωφέλη, μπορούμε να μιλάμε εδώ πάρα πολύ ώρα για το πόσο μας βοηθάνε στο χωράφι. Και δεν πρέπει να μας τρομάζει ίσως ο κλήρος ο ελληνικός, ο οποίος είναι κατακαιρματισμένος. Έχουν φτιαχτεί, έχουν εξελιχθεί πάρα πολλά από αυτά και στη μεγάλη χώρα της Κίνας, η οποία έχει μικρές εκτάσεις, μικρούς κλήρους και είναι και το ανάγλυφο έντονο. Είναι πολύ καλά τοποθετημένα για να επιχειρούν σε ανάγλυφα εδάφη, γιατί αναγνωρίζουν το τερέν και μπορούν να ανεβοκατεβαίνουν μόνα τους και αυτά τα κάνουν όλα, να αποφεύγουν εμπόδια. Μπορούν να μπαίνουν σε δύσκολες περιοχές, σε δυσπρόσιτες περιοχές, εκεί που δεν μπορεί να μπει καν το τρακτέρ. Φανταστείτε ένα αμπέλι σε ορεινό αμπέλι, έναν ελαιόνα που ανεβαίνει σε ένα βουνό. Τα τρακτέρ πολλές φορές δεν μπορούν να μπουν γιατί υπάρχουν κίνδυνοι σταθερότητας των μηχανημάτων. Εδώ με τα drone τα αποφεύγουμε όλα αυτά. Άρα, τι πρέπει να κάνουμε? Πρώτα απ' όλα μας αφορά όλους, αφορά και τις νέες γενιές που έρχονται στο χωράφι και τις παλαιότερες. Αλλάζει ο τρόπος σκέψης στο χωράφι. Και αυτό είναι το στίχημα, ότι πρέπει να είμαστε ανοιχτοί, να είμαστε δεκτικοί στις νέες τεχνολογίες, διότι είναι εδώ για να μας βοηθήσουν. Το είδαμε ότι πριν από 26 χρόνια κάποιος κομπιούτερ κέρδισε έναν Grand Master στο σκάκι. Τώρα, σίγουρα, αυτές οι νέες τεχνολογίες, όταν διαβάσουν το χωράφι, θα μας δώσουν μια πολύ καλύτερη απόδοση από ό,τι μπορούμε εμείς οι ίδιοι. Και ένα πράγμα που εγώ λέω πάντα είναι ότι μπορούν αυτές οι νέες τεχνολογίες να δώσουν και μια αναζωογόνηση στην ύπαιθρο. Δηλαδή, όταν πλέον ο κόσμος της υπαίθρου, τα νέα παιδιά, οι τεχνολογίες που χρησιμοποιούν για να επέμβουν στο χωράφι είναι οι ίδιες με αυτές που έχουμε και εμείς, αν θέλετε, οι άνθρωποι της πόλης, με κομπιούτερ, με τεχνολογία και με σύγχρονα μέσα, δεν θα νιώθει κάποιος στην ύπαιθρο παραμελημένος. Θα νιώθει ότι είναι και αυτός στο σήμερα, άρα μπορεί να μείνει στην ύπαιθρο. Μπορεί να ενεργεί εκεί πέρα και να νιώθει μια ικανοποίηση για τη δουλειά του. Και θα κλείσω στο σήμερα, ή μάλλον πριν από 3 χρόνια, στην Ολλανδία, έγινε το πείραμα σε θερμοκήπιο, το οποίο επέμβαιναν Ολλανδοί γεωπόνοι, μεγάλα μυαλά και πάρα πολύ καλή, και δίπλα ένα θερμοκήπιο το οποίο επενεύει μόνο τεχνητή νοημοσύνη. Τελικά η τεχνητή νοημοσύνη κέρδισε και τους Ολλανδούς γεωπόνους, διότι έδωσε μια καλύτερη παραγωγή σε βιομηχανική ντομάτα, σε ντοματίνια ειδικότερα, έδωσε μεγαλύτερη παραγωγή με λιγότερα μέσα. Άρα, 26 χρόνια μετά και στο χωράφι Είναι αποδεδειγμένο πλέον ότι η τεχνολογία αυτή θα δώσει πολύ καλύτερα αποτελέσματα. Είμαι ο Μάριος Πραπόπουλος, είμαι επιχειρηματίας στον χώρο της γεωργίας ακριβίας. Είμαι και startupper με μια εταιρεία πληροφορικής που ασχολείται και με προγράμματα πληροφορικής για το χωράφι και είμαι και special advisor της εδώ περιφέρειας σε θέματα γεωργικής ανάπτυξης. Σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prapopoulos. Any questions? Okay, if not, the Deputy Governor, Mr. Zaimis, would like to present some conclusions on this session.
Thank you very much. Θα μιλήσω στα ελληνικά. Θα κλείσω μόνο λέγοντας 2-3 πραγματάκια. Θέλω να τα ακούσουν ιδιαίτερα οι φίλοι εδώ, οι ένστολοι, αλλά και όλοι μας. Τι πετύχαμε με αυτό το πρόγραμμα, πολύ γρήγορα. Προμηθευτήκαμε μέσα σε 2 χρόνια τον εξοπλισμό που θέλουμε, εκπαιδεύουμε το προσωπικό, κερδίζουμε τεχνογνωσία. Να είμαστε περήφανοι που είμαστε στην Πάτρα και που είμαστε στην περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδας. Πραγματικά αυτό το οποίο κάνουν, να ξέρετε ότι μας παρακολουθούν και οι άλλες περιφέρειες και πολλοί δήμοι και πολλοί από την κυβέρνηση. Δεύτερον, πετύχαμε η περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδας να είναι στο κέντρο των εξελίξεων της Ευρώπης. Η πρωτοβουλία AETHER που παρουσίασε ο κ. Αγουρίδας, ο οποίος είναι ένας από τους πιο λαμπρούς Έλληνες στον χώρο της αεροπορίας διεθνώς. Δεν είναι τυχαίο ότι δουλεύει στην Airbus, η μεγαλύτερη εταιρεία στον κόσμο. Είναι μια στρατηγική συμμαχία που έχουμε κάνει σαν περιφέρεια. Η συμμετοχή μας στο Airport Regions Council, που μας τίμησε ο Γενικός Διευθυντής από την Ισπανία. Η συμμετοχή μας στη CPMR, η συμμετοχή μας στην Επιτροπή Περιφερειών και οι οδηγίες που βγάζει. Και η σχέση μας με το Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβουλίο δεν είναι τυχαία. Είναι ενέργειες οι οποίες έχουν γίνει τα τελευταία 2-3 χρόνια μάλλον και σε δύσκολη εποχή, με πανδημία, και μας έχει βάλει στο κέντρο των εξελίξεων για την νομοθεσία που θα έρθει, που βγαίνει και θα μας έρθει. Τρίτον, μπήκαμε σε μια διαδικασία να ενεργοποιήσουμε τους Δήμους και μέσω της ΕΝΠΕ και μέσω της ΚΕΔ, που αυτό είναι το επόμενο βήμα, διότι πραγματικά δεν ξέρουν τι μας έρχεται. Όταν αυτή τη στιγμή δεν μπορούμε να διαχειριστούμε εύκολα την κίνηση στο δρόμο, φανταστείτε τι έχει να γίνει με την κίνηση στον αέρα, και μιλάω για τα χαμηλά επίπεδα. Δεν θα είναι η Υπηρεσία Πολιτικής Αεροπορίας αρμόδια, σε αυτό σας το διαβεβαιώ. Δεν πρόκειται η Υπηρεσία Πολιτικής Αεροπορίας να ασχοληθεί με αυτό. Θα πει εγώ νύπτωτας χείρας, ό,τι είναι πάνω από ένα ύψος, ναι, ό,τι είναι κάτω από ένα ύψος θα το χρεωθεί είτε η αστυνομία, είτε ο Δήμος, είτε κάποιο άλλο όργανο το οποίο θα πρέπει να συσταθεί, κοινό όργανο αστυνομίας, Δήμου, Περιφέρειας. Και αυτό είναι σε διαβούλευση αυτή τη στιγμή σε ευρωπαϊκό επίπεδο. Τέταρτον, ενισχύσαμε την ακαδημαϊκή κοινότητα και βοηθάμε νέες επιχειρήσεις από την περιοχή. Να είστε σίγουροι ότι θα βγάλουμε ένα πρόγραμμα στο ΕΣΠΑ, το οποίο είναι τώρα που βγαίνει, με θέματα που έχουν να κάνουν με τα drones και τις νέες τεχνολογίες και τις εφαρμογές τους. Και μιλάω για εντός του 23 ή εντός του 24. Πέμπτον, ένα πρόγραμμα το οποίο ήρθε τελευταίο και εντάχθηκε, το 2019 αναλάβαμε την περιφέρεια, τελειώνει πρώτο με απορροφητικότητα σχεδόν 100%, όταν άλλα προγράμματα που ξεκίνησαν το 2016 και το 2017, με όλη την καλή θέληση που είχαν οι προηγούμενοι και χωρίς καμία διάθεση αντιπολίτευσης, ακόμα δεν έχουν ολοκληρωθεί. Γιατί? Όχι γιατί ήταν κακή η σκέψη, όλοι καλοπροαίρετοι είμαστε, αλλά είχε γίνει ένας κακός σχεδιασμός. Για να απορροφήσεις τα λεφτά και να πιάσουν τόπο, θέλει καλό σχεδιασμό εξ αρχής. Όχι ιδέες σε ένα χαρτί, αλλά πραγματικά να το έχεις μελετήσει, να έχεις ακούσει απόψεις, να έχεις συνεργαστεί με τις υπηρεσίες και βέβαια και αδειοδοτικά. Ξέρετε, κύριε Κασαρέου, ότι πολλά θέματα κολλάνε στην Ελλάδα λόγω αδειοδοτήσεων. Πρέπει λοιπόν από πριν να έχεις φτιάξει ένα καλό σχεδιασμό και αυτό επιδιώκουμε στο ΕΣΠΑ που τρέχει τώρα. Θα πω ένα παράδειγμα και να συμπληρώσω και στον κύριο Πραπόπουλο ότι δεν είπε το μυστικό. Ποιο είναι το μυστικό? Και σας το λέω αυτό διότι είχα δουλέψει με το Γεωπονικό Πανεπιστήμιο Αθηνών και με μια μεγάλη κινέζικη εταιρεία, όταν το 2017 ήρθαν στην Αθήνα και τότε είχε και μια μεγάλη θεομηνία στην Αθήνα για να πετάξουν ένα κινέζικο ντρόουν τότε και όλοι λέγανε ότι δεν πρόκειται να πετάξει λόγω της θεομηνίας. Σας πληροφορώ ότι και πέταξε το ντρόουν και είχε 6-7 μποφόρθημα με εκείνη την ημέρα και βροχή και ψέκασε και μάλιστα λόγω της ανάδευσης που κάνει το drone, ο ψεκασμός πάει και από το κάτω μέρος του φύλου και όχι μόνο από το πάνω μέρος του φύλου. Αυτό είναι το μυστικό. Και το λέω διότι έτσι όπως γίνεται ο ψεκασμός σήμερα και γι' αυτό υπάρχει μεγάλη πώς το λένε, πετάμε πολύ φάρμακο, εν πάση περιπτώσει, και μολύνουμε και τους υδροφόρους ορίζοντες, γιατί δεν γίνεται σωστός ο ψυχασμός, έτσι όπως γίνεται τώρα. Το drone βοηθάει πάρα πολύ και σε αυτό. 2 θεματάκια ακόμα. Είναι ένα θέμα το οποίο το έχουμε ανοίξει πολλές φορές και θέλουμε να προχωρήσει, την ενίσχυση της τοπικής βιομηχανίας, της πολεμικής βιομηχανίας που έχουμε εδώ. Έχουμε την ΕΒΟ στο Αίγυο, έχουμε το ΚΕΤ στην Πάτρα, έχουμε το ΚΕ Αράξου. Είναι αδιανόητο για μένα αυτές οι βιομηχανίες να μην είναι μπροστάριδες στην τεχνολογία. Είναι αδιανόητο να μην έχουν αυτή τη στιγμή νέα προϊόντα σε παραγωγή. Είναι αδιανόητο το ανθρώπινο δυναμικό το οποίο υπάρχει και το οποίο είναι εξαιρετικό και βγαίνει σε σύνταξη κάθε μέρα, να μην ενισχύεται με νέους ανθρώπους, έτσι ώστε και η τεχνογνωσία να περνάει στα νέα παιδιά, αλλά και να υπάρχουν προϊόντα που να φτιάχνονται στην Ελλάδα. Δεν μπορούμε να ανταγωνιστούμε την Κίνα ασφαλώς, δεν μπορούμε να ανταγωνιστούμε, αλλά μπορούμε όμως εν μέρη να κατασκευάζουμε πράγματα ή να γίνεται μια συμπαραγωγή, όπως κάνει η ΕΑΒ, σε αντίστοιχα επίπεδα. Αυτές οι 3 βιομηχανίες πρέπει να τις στηρίξουμε στην περιοχή μας. Και κλείνω με το επιτάλειο. Το αεροδρόμιο του επιταλείου, το οποίο είναι πλησίον της Αρχαίας Ολυμπίας, ανήκει στην περιφέρεια Δυτικής Ελλάδας. Όταν είχα επισκεφτεί αυτό το χώρο για άλλο λόγο το 2016, ήταν ένα εγκατελειμμένο αεροδρόμιο. Δεν μπορούσες να πας δίπλα, διότι βρωμάγαν τα φάρμακα, τα οποία είχαν παρατημένα σε ένα σέλτερ ανοιχτό. Ήταν ένα έγκλημα που είχε γίνει στην περιοχή και ευτυχώς δεν το αναδείξαμε για να δυσφημίσουμε την περιοχή τότε, αλλά αυτό το βάλαμε, το νοικοκυρέψαμε, το καθαρίσαμε και πλέον αδειοδοτήθηκε το αεροδρόμιο και λειτουργεί. Πρόσφατα υπογράφηκε και η σύμβαση με την 117 πτέρυγα μάχης, η οποία έχει και την επίβλεψη του αεροδρομίου και αυτή τη στιγμή μπορεί να πετάξει τουλάχιστον στο επίπεδο γενικής αεροπορίας αεροπλάνο. Ο στόχος είναι βέβαια να πάμε στο επόμενο επίπεδο, να το ανοίξουμε ακόμα και στην επόμενη κατηγορία και γιατί όχι να ξαναγυρίσουν και τα PZL εκεί πέρα ή όποιο άλλο αεροπλάνο θα μπορούσε να πάει, αλλά να γίνει και ένα πρότυπο κέντρο τεστ δοκιμών και για drones, αλλά και για μικρές κατηγορίες αεροπλάνων και ενδεχομένως και για μια μικρή τεχνική βάση. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Okay, thank you very much. It's time for a short coffee break now, and we will return with some technical presentations on the interoperability elements of the STEP platform that is being implemented in the framework of AETHER. Enjoy.
Λοιπόν, καλησπέρα και από μένα. Θα συνεχίσουμε με ένα τεχνικό σκέλος που αφορά τις δράσεις του έργου AETHER, οι οποίες έχουν αναλυφθεί από το Πανεπιστήμιο Πατρών. Το Πανεπιστήμιο είναι επιστημονικός συνεργάτης της Περιφέρειας Δυτικής Ελλάδος στην υλοποίηση του έργου σε περιφερειακό επίπεδο και συνεργαζόμαστε με τους διακρατικούς εταίρους μας για την υλοποίηση ενός πακέτου δράσεων που είναι οι περιφερειακές δράσεις, γιατί όπως ξέρετε τα συγχρηματοδοτούμενα έργα, πέρα από τον κορμό που είναι όλα αυτά που είδατε στις προηγούμενες παρουσιάσεις, περιλαμβάνουν και μία σειρά δράσεις περιφερειακές, οι οποίες ολοκληρώνουν τη διακρατικότητα και την χρησιμότητα όλων αυτών που θέλουμε να κάνουμε σε περιφερειακό επίπεδο. Σε επίπεδο λοιπόν συνεργασίας, προβλέπεται η υλοποίηση μιας διακρατικής πλατφόρμας, η οποία θα συλλέγει τα δεδομένα που θα παρέχονται από τα drone και από άλλες συσκευές που προμηθεύονται οι άλλες περιφέρειες στα πλαίσια του έργου, με στόχο ένα κοινό σχέδιο διαχείρισης σε επίπεδο πολιτικής προστασίας. Όλο αυτό αρχικά σε πιλωτικό επίπεδο και στη συνέχεια προβλέπεται να παραχθεί μια τελική αναφορά η οποία θα είναι διαθέσιμη στους επιχειρησιακούς φορείς για περαιτέρω αξιοποίηση. Μαζί μας έχουμε την κυρία Κάτια Κυριάτη από το CM, η οποία θα μας μιλήσει για μία από τις πιο σημαντικές δράσεις του έργου που έχει να κάνει με τη δημιουργία ενός παρατηρητηρίου για την αειφορία, την αστική αειφορία. Η παρουσίασή της έχει τίτλο Towards an Integrated and Cross-Border Environmental Protection. Katya, hello, are you here with us?
Hello? Yes, can you hear me?
You can share your presentation.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
We are a bit late on, according to the schedule, so I will ask you to be as brief as possible.
Yes, tell me if you can see my slides, please.
We need a few seconds.
Okay.
Can you share your presentation, please?
I do. I did. Is it okay?
Okay. We have
Can you see
a
it,
little
my
delay.
slide?
We can't see it yet.
I don't know why. I do again. Let's go. I share my screen. Hello. I don't know why. Enter screen. Allow. Is it okay now, Irini? Hello?
Just a moment. Yes, we can see it now.
Okay, thank you.
You can start.
So, good morning, everybody. I will be brief. Just a sec. Okay. And I'm talking about the General Laboratory for the Integrated Environment Management. And the objectives of the laboratory are to facilitate the sharing and transfer of knowledge of the project main topics and on pilot actions that we are talking in this today's event, promote the sustainable blue economy and innovation, finding innovative solutions based on the circular economy with the aim of increasing the resilience of coastal socio-ecological systems and preventing environmental risks. The laboratory will perform the activities as follows: capacity building targeted to cross-border SMEs and entrepreneurs interested in marine and coastal environmental resources. And a testimonial effect approach will be adopted, sharing successful cases with the aim to raise awareness about the benefits that eco-friendliness brings to the local environment, the impacts of eco-compatibility on increasing the stability of their business even in the short term, and the potential of urban growth to improve the adaptability to climate change challenges. Also, knowledge and sharing, such as the creation of tools and practices to exchange and share knowledge and information, like implementing cross-border labs, cross-border mutual learning workshop, which will give a voice to regional and local stakeholders, including regional and local authorities, business, members of civil society, leading to societal benefit and ultimately sustainability. Knowledge transfer by set up the Urban Sustainability Observatory for best practices collection on circular economy and the production of an online handbook spreading the enhanced LIME actors and stakeholders knowledge to a wider audience. At the moment, we planned some activity that will be implemented in Taranto. In detail, 4 labs on circular economy in blue sectors, and the target audience are the SMEs and the entrepreneurs. The topics that we will address in the labs are plastic in fisheries and aquaculture value chains, the reuse and transformation of waste and biomass waste in fisheries and aquaculture, rural production for fisheries and aquaculture, and funding opportunities towards circular transition in blue sectors. Also, the other 4 labs on circular economies in blue sectors, but with the different target audience that are multidisciplinary experts like agronomists, engineers, biologists, architects, that will act as facilitators of innovative processes. And the main topics that we'll address are circular design approach, transition from linear to circular economy, conditions, levers and levers for the transition from linear to circular economy, and the regulatory frameworks. For both type of labs, we are in the next weeks, we are going to have some meetings with the representative of the business sectors and professional, to better tailor these labs to have to ensuring the result of these activities of the laboratory. Another activity of the laboratory is the setup and implementation of the Sustainability Observatory. In other words, we want to monitoring and collect all information in a structured way, about good practice on circular economy in the framework of the pilot actions. We all agree that good practice contribute to generate real and long-lasting changes for the benefit of local population and communities. And a good practice is a successful experience that has been tested and replicated in different contexts and can therefore be recommended as a model. It deserves to be shared so that a great number of people can adopt it. So in this, with this idea in mind, we want to collect information about production, consumption, waste management, innovation, investment, good practice. And we defined a form to collect all of this information in a structured way and in detail collect information for each good practice concerning the detected needs, the change in stakeholders, the change triggered, and a brief description of the process that included changes in local society and the tools adopted. Then, at the end of the collection, analyze the information, we can publish it on the European Circular Economy website. In this way, we can go beyond the boundaries of the territories involved in the AETHER project and move in the European scenario. Okay. More fast than this way I can I not be, so I think I can be here. Thank you all for your attention, and if you have any requests about detail, you can just contact me by my email. That is my address in the slide. And that's it from my side.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Να πω στα ελληνικά ότι το παρατηρητήριο είναι μία από τις βασικές δράσεις του έργου με στόχο την ενίσχυση του στρατηγικού ρόλου των φορέων που συμμετέχουν αλλά και των σωμάτων ασφαλείας και συνδέεται άμεσα με την πλατφόρμα που ετοιμάζεται, τη διακρατική πλατφόρμα. Ο καθηγητής του Πανεπιστημίου Πατρών από το Τμήμα Μηχανολόγων Αεροναυπηγών, κύριος Νίκος Καρακαπηλίδης, θα μας κάνει μία παρουσίαση σε σχέση με στοιχεία διαλειτουργικότητας της πλατφόρμας και στη συνέχεια θα ακολουθήσει η τεχνική παρουσίαση για τις προδιαγραφές και την λειτουργία από τους τεχνικούς της Διεύθυνσης Πολιτικής Προστασίας της Περιφέρειας της Απουλίας.
Ωραία. Γεια σας και από μένα. Θα προσπαθήσω να... in Greek or in English? Είναι κάποιοι που δεν καταλαβαίνουν. Okay. I'll do it in English because I think some people cannot understand Greek. So, good evening from my side. I'll try to highlight and explain to you some interoperability issues about the foreseen platform. So the platform that is being implemented, as most of you already know, is called STEP, and it is intended to offer support decision-making and facilitate coordination, especially in cases where there are some emergencies or some crisis. It is based on an older platform. It's called Synapse. So there are some difficulties there to see what features and functionalities we maintain and how we exploit this legacy platform for our purposes. Let me go one step ahead. So the major functionality, first of all, is we want to guarantee that the data is there, that we can store data, one thing, and we can also offer access to this data to the stakeholders involved, all interested parties. Second major issue to be addressed is to integrate contents, for example, interrelate data coming from a drone, for example, with some data obtained from a GIS system or from some textual data that a citizen may send to the system. And the third big functionality is how we exploit these data, how we build on these data to serve some knowledge discovery, we call them issues, to provide stakeholders with some recommendations or to enable them to gain some insights about what is going on in some situations like the ones I mentioned before, emergencies and crisis situations. So some issues to be addressed. From the very beginning of this project, we speak about an integrated platform. Means that there are different modules, there are different parts of the platform, but we should orchestrate these pieces of software in a meaningful way. We need to have one solution, the same platform, the same software for both sides. I speak about Italy and Greece, so we use the same system. And we also talk about interoperability. So the issue here, something that we need to clarify is, okay, we talk about interoperability, but in terms of what? If I go to the literature and I try to see what is a broadly accepted definition of this, we can say that, okay, interoperability is the ability of two or more components, software components, to exchange information and make use of this information. So it's not only to exchange data, but to make use of this data, as I said before, in a meaningful way. And we can distinguish between two main types of interoperability. One is called syntactic interoperability. So in this case, it's the simpler, let's say, type. In this case, these components can communicate and exchange data, and we don't really care about the programming language that each piece of software is written or about the interface of each of them. And the second one is semantic interoperability. In this case, we need to exchange some extra information, some additional information, some metadata, if you like. So the two pieces of software, let's say, we enable each piece of software to understand the data that is being exchanged. There is a broadly accepted and widely used way for this exchange of data, for this kind of interoperation, for this kind of communication. Most of you, I guess, are aware about this. We call them API. API stands from Application Programming Interfaces. It's a simple, I would say, mechanism based on some protocols to serve these purposes. And as you can see, there are four basic types of actions. There are the ones that you saw in this slide. So you use the GET action to request data from a server. You use the POST action to send data to a server. The PUT action to change some data, and there is also the delete option if you want to remove some pieces of data from a server. What we propose for, in the context for the needs of this project is, okay, we keep at the bottom left-hand side of the slide, it's an extract of the STEP architecture. This is being implemented by the Italian partners. And on the right hand, you see another module, another piece of the platform, which is being implemented by the Greek partners, especially by our colleagues in the Ionian University. They'll be talking about this, I guess, in more detail in the next talk. Okay, and these two pieces of software, these two modules, interoperate, communicate through the internet via these application programming interfaces. We can, something that is underway is to define scenarios, some useful scenarios for the needs of the civil protection, for the needs of its country, for the needs of the authorities involved in its country. So, starting and working in a bottom-up way, like trying to serve different small scenarios, we can build a generic, as much generic as we can, solution. So a typical scenario comprises the steps that you see here. For example, one, make a plan, a mission, and fly a drone, and then retrieve the data obtained from the drone through the two typical ways that are allowed. They can process this data, they can cleanse, they can pre-process this data, they can explore some GIS data, then they can interrelate the drone data with other types of data, for example, with data collected from diverse sensors or data inserted by humans, or data obtained by another information system, for example, from a meteorological system. Then a typical scenario involves exchange of this data, and the question here is for which purposes. And after this, we try to support decision-making, and if we have enough data, to try to support also policy-making. Some first examples that we have sketched include the following. For example, one is interoperability, exchange of data for different types of processing, different modules, different parts of the platform adopt different algorithms, perform different functionalities, so you explore the same data through different components, or you explore different visualizations provided by different parts of the platform. Another example concerns exchange of data for aggregation. You have data, for example, from one region, and you have data from the other region, and you want to perform some kind of aggregation. Artificial intelligence and machine learning and such kind of things and approaches can be involved there to analyze data, to provide, to detect some anomalies, or to make some recommendations about future actions. And the third example is to exchange data to distribute the work to be performed and the volume of data to be stored. So you avoid failures, or you distribute the load, especially in data-intensive situations. We work closely with our Italian colleagues to clarify a few issues, like even in this morning we had some discussions with them. So we work on the APIs to be defined, especially from the Italian side. So we are waiting for a detailed documentation of their API, of the an API of the STEP platform. Also, we are about to start some experimentations, provided that we have access to the platform. So they're about to set some accounts for us and try some experimentations, and work closely with them in order to identify what aspects, what functionalities of the platform being implemented, the module, sorry, being implemented in the Greek side will be useful for the Italian side. I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Karakaplidis. We now move on to the next presentation, which is from Mr. Ioannis Karidis from the Department of Informatics of Ionian University. Ionian University is also a scientific advisor expert for AETHER project located in the region of Ionian Islands, and he will give us some features and some operational scenarios about the STEP platform in regional level.
Hello, everybody. I'm very glad to be here with you today, even remotely.
Mr. Karidis, can you hear
us? Yes, I can.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
excellent.
I can hear you.
Excellent, excellent. So it's very good to be in this meeting, and I would like to have a very short discussion of the requirements for as far as the PB5 and the Ionian University and the region of Ionian Islands of Greece, as far as the requirements of their part within the AETHER project. To begin with, I would like to provide a very concise but highly descriptive explanation of what we intend and what we require to do within this project. So we are bounded to create a system that consists of an application, a smartphone application, a portable smartphone application, and an interface that will allow us to collect information, to manage the information, and manage a small fleet of drones that will go into the field and collect information from sensors that have been already placed in the field and thus are static within the field. And at the same time, take advantage of the capabilities of a drone system, of an aerial drone system, in two terms. The first one is to collect information from the drone itself and its sensory equipment, as well as to convey, to have within it a payload, which is an alternate informational system, a totally separate informational system, such as an Arduino or a device, all in all, that will do the manual collection of the automatic collection of the information from the static parts that are distributed within the field from the sensors. The next step is that as the drone comes back into its original point of reference, we will have to collect the data within, again, using an automated methodology again, collect the data and then get it through a system that will allow us to extract knowledge from this system, from this data, in order to be able to act accordingly. So, all in all, a smartphone application that will allow us to have a very big breadth of penetration with users, a general database management system which will allow us to interrelate and interconnect the information that we collect, all in all, and then a subsystem that will allow us to organize the flight path of a drone system that will go into the field and get information from sensors that are static within the field, bring the information back. This information is going to be twofold from the systems of the drone and the actual sensors, and then extract information from this collected data. To do that, and in order to support the interoperability of the proposed methodology with all the platform, with the integrated platform of the AETHER project, we have designed and implemented an API, an application programming interface, following the theme that Nikos Karakapiridis just said a few moments before. And this API allows us not only for the internal parts of the project to interconnect between the elements of the sub-part of we're developing, but also to interconnect with external parts within the project. Such as any other system within the AETHER project. The API has a full documentation with explicit details and a platform that allows to actually do tests on the fly. I'm providing you the link here. Some of the key endpoints of interest are the measurements that we collect either from the drone or from the static sensors, the reports that we collect from the crowdsourcing using the smartphone application, the actual sensors that are deployed within the field and on board the drone, the placement of the sensors, because those sensors could be moved around the field of we want to do the measurements. Some paths that allow us to identify the path that the drone is going to follow in order to collect information and retrieve the information back. Obviously, the users and the messages that we receive from the said users using the crowdsourcing smartphone application. The key argument here is that the API is totally open. Obviously, there is a level of authentication required, but we are happy to provide authentication to whomever wants to play along, either for testing purposes or for normal integration purposes. And the API is totally ready. The next part is the web interface that we're creating. It's a generic web interface that we've taken, and we try to make it as customized as possible for the requirements of the project. So it addresses all the characteristics and the aspects that I've already discussed. So there is a part of it that focuses on the crowdsourced information and how to manage and to do some kind of curation within the information of the crowdsourcing. As you all probably know, information that comes from wide public tends to be not always that great. So a curation process is needed, and it's embedded within our proposed methodology. Then to identify a set of paths for the drones in order to collect the information, And we've also developed a very small decision support system. It's a simplistic one, but still a decision support system that it's based on the information that have a temporal aspect within the database, and it presents it in a manner that allows to show the evolution of the variables interesting variables on the temporal axis. The user interface, it's generic, to be totally honest, but it's organized and focused towards high functionality and not the aesthetics, since it's obviously accessed by people who have authentication. There is another methodology. There's some few details about how to collect the information from the crowdsourcing. It's a very simplistic manner, to be honest, by creating questionnaires that are sent to the users, and then the users, whenever they want to submit some information, they follow the questionnaire, which is as a guideline, as a pipeline that guides them through the steps that of the information that they have to submit. And so submission is very, very easy. This is a very simplistic presentation of the DSS with the temporal aspects and the evolution of a demo variable just for presentational issues. The paths that we provide information based on GIS that we've incorporated within the system, and the questionnaires and the system for the curation of the received information from the questionnaires. Then a little bit on the information, information on the application for the smartphone application. It's a very versatile application that allows both the creation of reports as well as the dissemination of information from the backend, from the administrators of the system towards the general public. So you can either make a report and see the reports that you've already submitted. You can see the messages, which is the broadcast from the backend towards the wide public, and obviously the About button that allows users to see who's created the application, under what funding has it been supported, and stuff like this. As I've already told you, the whole pipeline of the submission of a report, it's very, very easy, and we've spent a lot of time in order to make it that easy. You just follow a guided answering of a few questions using mostly predetermined alternatives and a few opportunities for actual values or free text. You select a few images or a video or something like that, and then you you select if you allow the system to include within the report your geographical positioning, just in order to be sure if you want to do that, and some few comments, and then you just hit submit, and everything's done. So geolocation, media, answer to questions, and free text comments. And finally, a little bit of discussion on the generic database manager that we've developed for this project. It's a system that is agnostic towards the database that is being utilized on, so it can manage a lot of different databases, but obviously there is a lot of customization in this scenario to support the current databases of the AETHER project and the ones that we're using at least. It allows the creation, read, update, and delete actions of all entities, and it also allows for interconnection of entities instances within the database in a very easy and graphical manner. That's almost a no-brainer. It's very easy for people that do not have an informatics or ICT background. This is a very just a few images of this system. It has a very high granularity of authentication and credentials in order to verify what user can affect in what way, what data. So we're very, very happy about it, and it's probably going to be used in a lot of other projects in the future, hopefully. And that's all from me. Thank you.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ. Thank you very much, Mr. Karidis. And we now go on to the presentation, the general presentation of the STEP platform from the technical experts of the Civil Protection Department of the region of Puglia in Italy. And we have together with us Mrs. Sonia Netti, and Mr. Domenico Palmisano.
Everybody. Sorry, are a complicated day, so we have few minutes. But we have already saw the platform in the last meeting. I share. This is the STEP platform, and today I want to share with you the API system of STEP platform. Sorry, the document is in Italian, but we forward you the English version by the next week. The platform we have already we have also to public the platform that now is in the intranet access, is with the intranet access. So the platform is have a REST API we confirm what is the colleague says on STEP platform that have API, REST API with post, get, put on HTTP with the content type application JSON. So the body is a JSON. We on the data in the platform, we can make a filter with this operator equal, minor, max. We have to translate for you the document. There are also examples of how to interrogate the data in the platform, and we can make a filter, numeric and alphanumeric filter, or geographic filter on the data, such as a geographic buffer. From a point we can derive all the information in a buffer, in a territory buffer. The platform, the access to the platform is with login, so a dedicated login. So we give you the access to the API, and the login is the username with the MD5 username plus password coding. In response, we have you do a get, and in response you have user info and permission. The platform has a different grant of access. The information and the functionality are configured for different user and different rule. We explain better this in the document. The service, we can define the different entity, such as we have also already defined emergency event, and different entity and different attributes. We have to make a tuning with you on this entity. So to some data are, we call it context data, such as dictionary, status, type, are the option of some attributes. These are utility, GIS utility, and as I say, the entity. The first entity we have created is an emergency event. You can make a master with all the result. the list of the event, and then you can call the detail of a specific event, passing DD of the event. We have to define the attributes of the emergency event. These are principal attributes. Then we can you can make a insert by a post method, body also JSON, and the response is DD that the API give to the insert. You can update an event passing DD, and the event also have deleted, true, false, and the remove date. All the data are timestamp, and all the data delete are logical delete, not physical. This is a general configuration of the API, and we can configure that for other entity that we can define together. Emergency event is also yet in platform. The platform is already configured to give the possibility to make to take data from other platform, and to take data, geographic data, such as we can say shape, Excel, CSV, and KMZ. This is if there are questions.
Devo dire il fatto degli altri citato specifici di altri oggetti.
Yes, to define the entity, we need more specific about the other data we have to take in the platform.
Thank you, Sonia. And we are closing this short session with Professor Giorgos Stefanidis. He is the scientific coordinator of the team of the University of Patras from the Department of Civil Engineering. And he will give us some closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for being here, even at this late time. So in conclusion, what we have done today is we have listened to the results, actual results, from the building of two platforms, which are interconnected, as we hope. One is the platform that is called STEP, which we're going to be using it as implementing the collection of data, management of data, availability of information, and so on, where also the information that comes from drones, for instance, can be managed and become available to others. And it's important to know that this is going to be interoperable, and as we heard, we can enter into the platform and make use of it. The other part we have heard is about the Lime platform, which there the objective is the circular economy, which is also very important for both our areas on the two sides of the Adriatic. Circular economy is already in the
life of the everyday citizen. That's what we hope to achieve with this project that we have. In other words, not only make available the tools in order to collect information and make the information available, but also make the citizen aware that we are operating in a circular economy, and therefore what we do is going to be important for ourselves and for our fellow citizens and for our city and for our area, taking into account the future generations and the environment. So we thank esteemed speakers for being part of today's program. We thank you for being here. And also, I would like to just make a very short announcement that our next meeting we plan to have in November, on November 2 and 3rd, and it will be a part of the more general conference that we have every 3 years. So the meeting of AETHER will be part of it, which is in the area of intelligent systems, and which will be taking place at the University of Patras. Thank you very much, and so we now have to enjoy our free lunch or short lunch if we are still here. Thank you again.
Thank you.